Hello, listening people.
Hello.
You're listening to Spin Polish Presents Unappreciated Masterpieces. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Sliwinski.
And so am I regarding the hosts, but not the name. My name's Bartek.
Bartek, a pleasure to hear your voice once again.
Yours too, actually.
Thank. Now,
Just the one, yeah.
Well, I was too excited. I didn't know whether to say thanks or thank you, so I just said thank.
Yep.
Bartek, we're doing our show Unappreciated Masterpieces, the show in which we provide a feature-length audio commentary track for the movies that seemingly don't deserve a commentary track. Why is that?
Yeah, that's kind of the mission statement, finding out why that is. Just for some reason,
I know.
humankind, peeps, as they sometimes are known as.
Yep, that's what
just
they're known as.
do not respect, love, adore certain films that we believe deserve them.
Yeah.
They relegate them to this. We made the term, I guess, but unappreciated masterpiece.
Yes,
level.
trademarked. We made it. You can't use it.
Can't
If
use
we
it.
see a show out there called this, we're going to sue you.
Exactly. We haven't made a single cent this whole time.
Hopefully, we have a
show.
guest. Hopefully, we have a guest that knows about the law. Maybe
The law of unappreciated masterpieces.
that and copyright law.
Law and
Because
law.
we own the law and the law.
The law of the law.
I really am holding myself back from quoting Judge Dredd right now. I am the law. The law. So Bartek,
I'm the law.
The law. Bartek, what's the film? I need
film?
you to tell me, because we're spin Polish, likely because we're spitting. We're both Polish, so you need to do your part now, which is telling us the movie.
Yes, the unappreciated masterpiece of the episode is Poślubiłem morderczynię.
You know what? Over the last couple of months, most of the Polish titles you've given me have made me giggle.
Mm-hmm.
This one, not so much. It sounds very informative. It sounds straight to the point. I imagine there's no distinct difference between this and the English title. I imagine it's word for word the same.
It's not word for word, but it's pretty much the exact spirit of
So,
it.
what is the spirit?
The
Because I don't speak Polish.
Poślubiłem morderczynię translates to I married a murderess.
A murderess?
Yes.
Of the Axe variety, though?
No axe in this
So,
title.
not Axe body spray, okay.
No. If you watch the unappreciated masterpiece in question, you're going to be thinking about axes the whole way through because they're so
Exactly.
prominent. The film that we are watching is the 1993 classic So I Married an Axe Murderer.
So I married an axe murderer.
Really? I mean, yes.
I'm not married yet. I'll find out soon enough.
Yeah.
But Bartek, do we have a guest?
Yeah.
Do we have a guest who knows the law?
You already said that, so yeah.
But do we have one? I said we might have one, but do we have one?
Might indeed we do.
Okay, who are they?
They're mighty too.
Mighty Ducks?
Well, not a duck.
Quack quack.
When I look at him, I don't think
One
a
of the
duck.
people in this movie is in the Mighty Ducks movie, so just want to point that out.
Are there any animals in this film?
There's a butcher shop.
Oh, so there are dead animals.
they count as animals.
Speaking of animals, our guest this episode is not dead. I didn't say dead animals, so don't worry. Our guest is Luke Peverelle.
So I married an axe murderer?
Yeah, you did.
So I just want to get in on that. Hey, listening people.
Hello.
I like how
Luke.
your one was a
Hello,
question.
Ryan. Hello, Bartek. It's very
Hello.
nice to be here.
It is very nice to hear you once again.
Thank you.
Through our audio waves.
The headphones, yeah.
Well, they're audio waves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, mine is black, Ryan's is red, and Bartek's is yellow.
That's our penises, but
Yes.
but what about our microphones?
Oh, the microphones.
But
More
I
about
love
the
Bartek.
microphones.
Bartek's looking, when Luke says that, he's looking directly at his yellow microphone, and he's just like, what if mine is yellow?
I took the headphones off and I
Have
was
you
looking
put
at
the
them.
cream on it? I
Yeah,
told
put
you
the
to put the
cream.
cream on it.
So, listening people, you have to have your copy of this masterful feature film, So I Married an Axe Murderer from 1993, because I have a copy, you should have a copy. Attain it through any means necessary. Go to Mike Myers' house, dig it out of his backyard where he keeps it in a bunker, and then drag it to shore,
be
because he
fair-
lives near the beach.
I'm picturing like Mike Myers having a pet cemetery of all the movies he's
Oh yeah,
done.
of course.
They
An
don't
axe-
come back the same.
An axe murder from 1993 is probably not.
They all come
functioning
back.
anymore.
They all come back with ratings between 5 and 7. You're right. So get your copy, because I'm going to do a countdown from 3 down to 1. I'm going to say play. You press play at the same time, and we'll be lined up as we speak about the film So I Married an Axe Murderer. So get ready, because I'm going to start this in 3, 2, 1, play. So Luke,
Yes.
history with the movie. What's yours?
Well, I do know that this was the first film that Mike Myers did after the Wayne's World, and as we all know, Wayne's World was a huge success. So
It was.
Love it.
I guess he just saw his star on the rise and thought, you know what?
A
it's time-
TriStar?
A TriStar, even.
Yeah, I made it. I made the comment about
And
the film production
he
company.
thought,
Not a joke, just a statement.
I'm going to be a
it is
beat
again.
poet in my next movie.
Well, yeah, he's a beat poet. It took me a little while to figure that out, I'm going to be honest. I thought he was a stand-up comedian for the first 20 minutes of the movie, but then they're like, oh, it's a poet.
Aside from that, recently was my first time watching it.
Ooh, first-timer.
Well,
so
this came out in 93. That was the year I was born.
All three of us were born.
All
yeah.
three of us had no excuse then not to see
Yeah.
it.
Us tiny, wrinkly babies. Should've
I love the title.
I like
Just
that-
zooming
yeah.
in on screen,
I
like,
like how it comes in flat and then it moves itself.
then
up. Now they're
three-dimensional.
separating.
Oh my
yeah.
god! So Bartek,
Yes.
your history with this movie. Do you have any? Because I would say that we've done the Love Guru and stuff like that, and we've talked about Mike Myers before. And you and I, on a level, very big Mike Myers fans.
Yeah,
we like quite a lot of his stuff.
And-
so have you seen this?
This is one of the films that I said we should do on the podcast.
Oh, you did.
And the reason why is because I had never seen it.
Oh, yeah.
I'd first heard of it either 10 or 11 years ago in an English class. We were doing poetry, and our teacher showed us the Harriet poem.
Oh, you got to do poetry in high school? That's cool.
Yeah. She
Did
showed
you have
us.
to make a poem?
We had to make many poems.
Were you good at it?
Oh,
I
my
think
God.
I got good marks. I have some at home.
I like this.
Oh,
Jack
you should have brought
Kerouac
him. You
straight
should have
Oh,
brought him so
I
that I
should've.
could have read them as Mike Myers. Harriet! Hey, just quick question. I have not seen the 21 Jump Street movies, but I have seen clips from them.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there the exact same sequence in one of the 21 Jump Street movies where Jonah Hill's doing a slam poem, and it's very much the same cadence as Mike Myers' slam poetry?
I think, yeah, he's on like a
Yes,
school stage or something.
Yeah, he is. He's like at a local college.
And
like,
it's
bar
the
thing.
exact
He like
same...
says the name,
Coffee
then the
shop.
name 3 syllables.
Yeah, and isn't it the exact same as Mike Myers here, where Mike Myers says it like, Harriet! Harriet! And then, and then doesn't
I think
Jonah Hill do it
so.
the exact same fashion?
may
What I'm
have
saying
to
is
do a
Jonah Hill
comparison.
ripped this movie off.
think maybe he-
You're a fucking hack, Jonah.
I think
I'm
his,
going to take all those Oscar nominations back from you. You're a fucking hack.
Your
I
days
think-
are numbered, Jonah.
I think his rhythm was a bit faster, but yeah, now that you mention it, there was something like that.
Do you think it may have been an homage?
I don't think so. I think he's just a hack.
You're right.
I
Jonah
mean-
Hill,
Hey, Mike Myers was clapping when he saw that, I'm sure.
more like Jonah Hack. Am I right?
So-
Jonah Hex.
So anyway, I hadn't heard of this film until that class, and it just always stuck in my head. Like I've seen a fair few Mike Myers films. I've never heard of this one, and the title is just so
Intriguing.
What do we
intriguing.
make of this particular POV shot of the?
I think
of
it's
the,
great. I think it
it's
adds a
interesting.
lot of flavor to the aesthetic of the movie. This is very 90s.
It
You got the
reminds us
music, you got the atmosphere,
where we are.
but also the giant mug of coffee kind of thing really screams that
There you
90s
go.
aesthetic as well. And Mike Myers.
Mike Myers giving a Mike Myers reaction.
It was hard not
There
to hear
he
Austin
is.
Powers when he
Cat
did this
in the Hat.
particular bit, especially with the hello. Any more you want to tell us about your history?
Yeah. I just want to.
Sorry, it took me, honestly, till the next scene to know that was Anthony LaPaglia. I was like, oh, all right, when's Anthony gonna come on? Because
Right,
this is
man.
not him, but it is. But go on.
Yeah. Just to finish off my history, I had thought about this film quite a number of times over the last decade, just because the weird poem and the title, and I didn't know anything about it. And I remember there was a point 2 years ago, I was on a bus and I was thinking about, when we do the podcast, we always have, when there's an actor we haven't seen yet, we talk about their history a bit.
Yeah.
And at that point, we hadn't done any Mike Myers films, and I was thinking, maybe we should do, the axe murderer thing. That'll be interesting. We eventually ended up doing Love Guru, but
Classic Love Guru.
But I still always wanted to try doing this axe murderer film, and finally I got to see it, and I'm very happy with it.
Well, I had seen this movie before. This was in the era in which my parents got DVDs of anything, and they're like, "Oh, Mike Myers."
Were they burn DVDs?
No,
Or-
real DVDs.
Oh, wow.
I mean, my mum works in retail, so she was always seeing DVDs. So she's like, "Oh, this," and then my dad, whatever. But it's just like, this was one of those. Oh, Mike Myers Ryan really likes Mike Myers, and we like Mike Myers because I was a huge Austin Powers fan. Still am. Like, I've been
You saw
getting
all three in the cinemas, right?
yes, actually, yes, I did. But this is one of those things where it's like Mike Myers is one of those things where history has not been favorable to him. I've gotten into many arguments over the years that the Austin Powers movies are still funny. People think they're very much dated and not funny and it doesn't work. And I'm like, no, they work. It's just because you're so used to modern comedy now where it's like, fuck it, we don't have to try.
Yeah, I watched the shit out of it.
That's a dire take on modern comedy.
And this has a few Austin Powers alumni in it. You know, we have one or two people. So
yes, 102.
yeah, you know, just interesting. Obviously, Mike Myers, but also there's
Mike
the
Myers
peanut.
playing dual roles.
There's the
too.
peanut vendor guy from the Austin Powers movies, who's in this as the obituary writer, the big fat guy with the mustache. We all know that guy. Like when we get to that scene, we know him. He's also in Seinfeld in a singular episode, and it's great because in that scene he's with Kramer.
Who's been in a few Seinfeld episodes himself.
Who
yeah.
is in this movie too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like he's in the sequence. But my history is I've seen this on. I owned it on DVD, watched it several times, but honestly, I haven't watched it in well over a decade, and I did not remember a single thing other than when he did the poem. I was like, oh yes, I remember this, and I remember
specific poem.
the way the poem. Yeah, when he did this, I was like, oh yes,
The woman one.
woman. Well, they're all the same poem. That's the joke, except for he changes the words.
Yeah.
But they're all the same cadence and rhythm and everything, and he has the same thing with the cigarette and the candle.
Cat.
Betty, Judy, but and I also remember the twist.
Yeah.
I also remembered the twist. But I will be honest, I forgot the twist as well, because I thought it was her mother.
Right.
I thought it was like a mother-in-law thing. I forgot that Honey Bunny from Pulp Fiction was in this. That's the sister.
Ah, that's who it
Yes.
was.
How can you not? She has such a recognizable voice. Like, she's got this really odd voice, Amanda Plummer, and it's just like the way she speaks is you know, the way she yells in particular, where she's just like, I gotta speak like this. It's just so in the back of the throat. So I was like, oh, it's Honey Bunny.
You know what I found interesting about this is that like usually the protagonist that Mike Myers is sort of exemplifying here is usually like they're trying to do something they love and they're bad at it.
But
here,
he's celebrated.
He's a kick-ass beat poet, which is an interesting.
Well,
subversion.
it's hard to be a sucky beat poet, I think. Meats of the world, yum yum.
Yeah, that was an
Gotta get
interesting
some
thing
meat.
because Anthony LaPaglia kind of made it sound like, oh, dude, you're a one-trick pony, and I guess
he's not
that is
wrong.
the joke, but he's really popular.
Well, like I
clapped
said, it
Lord
took me a
of
little while to realize it was a proper beat thing. I thought it was just an open mic night in general. With the guy before him, we didn't get to hear what his poem was, but we heard the silly title.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like Mike Myers was a stand-up comedian for a little bit, and I thought this was like one of his stand-up things because it was so silly.
Yeah,
But then it turned out to be genuine, and then it took me for a loop because he comes across not so much as like a beat poet, but more of an aspiring comedian. And I think maybe that's one of the weaknesses I have with the movie. I wish that they kind of made him more pretentious in an artsy
he's
way.
Not that pretentious, which is
No, he's a comedic guy. So I think it would have been better if he was either stand-up comedian, like a Jerry Seinfeld type, like again with a Seinfeld kind of
What's
thing.
the deal with haggis?
Yeah, exactly. Well, he does have a catchphrase. Hello.
This is very Mike Myers.
Yeah, since all I knew was the Harriet poem, since he was doing like a beat poetry thing right at the beginning, I was thinking like, oh, okay, so I guess this is like his thing, and also it's a coffee house. So
Yeah.
I kind of put it together, and even that scene just there where he got the haggis, I remembered in the poem he mentions Harriet, something, harbinger of haggis. So I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this must be the Harriet character or something.
And here
Ah,
we are,
yeah.
Scottish
Well
Wall
done,
of
Bartek.
Fame.
Is that fucking Sean Connery?
He is, even he is Scottish.
Oh, I must not have been paying attention.
The label below the picture also said Sean Connery.
It says all their
It
names.
did. I'll admit.
Now
I was not
here's
looking at the
Michael
screen at
Myers
this
in
point.
his second role in the film. This kid was in one of the Mighty Ducks movies, or several of them. I can't tell, but he was in a lot.
He's got that 90s.
We all know the mum, don't we?
frizzy hair thing.
We all know the mum. Anyone?
She's very
Anyone?
familiar. I
Bueller?
think, have we seen her before
Bueller?
in this podcast?
No.
No.
But she's in an iconic movie with a certain
Um,
child star of that era.
Um,
Who was the child star of the 90s?
nope. Don't remember.
Macaulay Culkin?
Yes.
Ah.
So what movie? Come on.
Was it one of the Home
Alone
Alones?
2?
Yes, she's Pigeon Lady in Home
Oh,
Alone
she's
2.
the pigeon lady.
The
I knew it.
iconic Pigeon Lady in Home Alone 2.
And now she's.
This movie has quite a lot of people in it, though.
There.
Like, of rising
Super
fame
funny.
and well-known acclaim. Like, you know, Anthony LaPaglia is rising at this point. People don't really know. I mean, but we know him now. He's great in this. I loved him. He was probably my favorite, if I'm honest. Him and Alan Arkin.
Alan Arkin is one of my favorites.
I love Alan Arkin.
Alan
He's also a great
Arkin's
director.
Alan Arkin's just the
not one of
best.
He's very wholesome.
Wholesome. Yeah, he was in this actually. What did we think of? Since you two hadn't really seen the movie before, you had seen a clip of the movie,
Single
so
clip.
you had more context than Luke ever did.
I guess.
All right, it's
What
on you,
was your
Bartek.
expectations, and how did you feel watching this, guys? Because I've lived this life before, but on a level for me, it was a fresh viewing, and I was like, oh, I forgot Mike Myers was kind of this character.
Yeah, well, one of the things, again, with the title sitting in my head for a decade and knowing that Mike Myers was the lead, I had a hard time, even though his name is, Michael Myers, thinking that this would be like in a horror or thriller-esque film. And it wasn't super, horror thrillery until like
Near the end.
there's just a lot of paranoia going on, basically.
Yeah, it's a fear.
Yeah, but there's a lot of comedy going at it. So when I saw on IMDb that, this is listed under like crime and thriller, technically.
I mean, not
'cause-
wrong.
Yeah, I know. IMDb generalizes a bit, but yeah, it does fulfill it in the end. It was just this question in my head of like, so how dark is this film going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that was interesting me, and for most of it, it kind of just rode the comedy wavelengths.
Fair enough. Luke, what about you?
This film was a bit of an interesting revelation for me because I'm most familiar with Mike Myers playing quite larger-than-life characters. Austin Powers probably the most popular example.
Or not Cat in the Hat?
I didn't want to mention that, but yes, you must. Yes,
You know what's going to happen to Luke. There's going to be that image
Yeah.
of Cat in the Hat holding the baseball bat sitting right behind Luke about to whack him.
Yeah, actually, I'm fond of that image, but
Rewatch that movie. It's not that bad.
yeah, no, it's not that bad. I loved it when I was a kid. In this, he plays like a fairly, compared to that, he plays a fairly mild-mannered character.
Yeah,
so,
he's a human.
yeah, he's by all accounts
Who's
a human
afraid
being.
of relationship commitments.
Commitment phobia. Am I right, guys?
I mean,
My
you
girlfriend
are
doesn't
right,
listen to
guys. This movie is about commitment phobia. He's
What?
move out of the
Oh
way.
God, look at that haircut.
Oh, it's just his natural
It's
hair,
so
buddy.
90s though.
Yeah,
I
it
don't see
is.
anyone now.
I think it's just because
that
he's wearing a
haircut.
flannel shirt. It doesn't help.
And can I just say something? Like, no one's going to agree with me on this. And
I will.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Ryan. There's something about Mike Myers is like,
Hair?
he's just a general appearance in this movie. It reminds me of Matthew Broderick.
I was gonna say Hugh Grant. He has
Oh,
the Hugh
yeah.
Grant hair in this movie.
He's got kind of that like harmless, nebbishy looking man. thing going
Yeah,
on.
exactly. I know. I totally agree. I think he does have
Oh
a bit
my
of a
God.
Matthew Broderick
No,
quality.
I'm just looking at his hair specifically now. Yeah, Hugh Grant.
Is
all
Hugh Grant
the
and
way.
Matthew Broderick had a baby? It's Mike Myers.
Hugh Grant.
I mean, we're very big,
Matthew
knowledgeable
Grant.
experts on the Matthew B. We had him on recently, but we're more Jonathan Taylor Thomas fans because Simba. But I
The
enjoy
guy who played Simba's better than the guy that played Simba.
exactly.
Yeah,
we
the
all
first
remember.
album is
We all
better than
remember
the
a
first
certain
album.
Simba over another. I have to ask this. You mentioned Michael Myers from Halloween.
Yeah.
I asked this question to my fiance, and she didn't have an answer for me. And I want you guys to answer this for me, even if you haven't seen the Halloween movies.
Just seen the
Is
first one.
Michael Myers a serial killer? Because I said I don't know, because isn't a serial killer someone who kills in a specific way and or targets specific types of people, while Michael Myers just kills literally anyone and everything in his path?
No, I would pay to see that.
Doesn't Michael Myers typically have targets? Like he goes to like a house and kills anyone that's there.
Yeah, but does that count as a serial killer? Like when he just literally will just go somewhere and kill everyone and then go, you know what I mean? Like, is it like, or is he just a mass murderer?
Well, I think is there a difference between a mass murderer and a serial killer?
I think so. I mean, when someone
believe
does a public shooting, they're not a serial killer; they're just a mass murderer.
No, like
Oh, like
serial,
a
serial
single
implies
incident.
one after another. Whereas a mass murder, it all happens at the
Well,
one
that's what
time.
Michael Myers does.
Okay, well he'd be a serial killer then, because he's done it to multiple places, right?
Yeah. If you kill one person and then another, and just one person per.
I mean,
week,
fair
let's
enough.
say.
I was just curious
20
because
people
I'm
in
just
one
like
day,
because Michael
then that's
Myers is
better.
one of those weird horror movie figures. Because at least with Jason, he's a serial killer because he doesn't like any campers ever
Yeah.
because of reasons. And Freddy, well, Freddy gets the kids
Well, yeah, and
of the family.
And Freddy's supernatural, so he's probably a level above serial killer.
Yeah, he's a boogeyman.
He's a
killer
dream.
entity.
I mean, he's also a child molester, so fuck him even more.
Yeah.
But
What's the other one? Leatherface?
Yeah, Leatherface. Well, yeah, that's more of like a honey in the fly trap kind of situation where they kind of get people to come to them in their crazy
Okay.
house.
What is the name of the villain in The Crow?
Man, I haven't watched The Crow in yonks.
Well, he just came to mind now because I'm discussing like.
Well, you know what we should talk about? Did we love Mike Myers doing not Fat Bastard and not Shrek? No, I'm 100%. I'm 100% honest. It's when you listen to the voice, it's neither one of those two, but a slight inference on those two because obviously it's still a Scottish accent, but it's neither one really.
No, I agree.
I've read reviews where people are like, "Oh, it's him doing Shrek," or "It's him doing Fat Bastard." It's like, well, that's before either of those characters, but.
This is the proto-Fat
Can
Shrek.
I think it sounds different.
It does.
Can we take a moment to appreciate just like 90s era New York? It has something about it.
Is this New York?
No, it's San
I thought
Francisco.
it was San
It's your-
Francisco.
oh my
Alcatraz
God.
is here.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I just assumed because he's a beat poet, he's in the village. He's doing.
Well,
To be fair, there is in the butcher scene.
God,
The guy
I'm so
does ask
sorry,
for like a
listener.
New York steak, but yeah, it's San Francisco. It's
True.
the Bay City.
Now,
in that case, let's appreciate 90s.
are we familiar with the female lead in this movie, Nancy Travis?
Not as much as I'd like to be.
Really? I'm really familiar with her beyond belief. I've seen her in quite a ton of things. What about you, Bartek? Female lead movie, Nancy Travis.
Not off the top of my head, but there's probably been things I've seen.
Yeah,
her
I've seen her in a ton of things. Mainly Becca, the TV show Becca. She was the replacement female lead when the show decided, hey, Terry O'Farrell, we don't want you on the show no more because we don't want Becca to end up with the girl at the end because that's too obvious. So instead we're going to kick you off the show, bring in a new girl for him to get with that girl in the end because that's different. And it just fucked up the show. Like Becca never recovered. It's not even her fault. Like that character that she plays and her performance, great, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's so manufactured. Like when you watch it, you go, they only did this so that they could generate more stories and drama in the show. Like, could you imagine if, like, Game of Thrones did that today? It was like, Tyrion, you're out of the show so we could place you with another dwarf. Like, you know what I mean?
And his name was Poochie.
Yeah, and he went back to his home planet. And I'm really familiar with her voice work. Obviously, she does a lot of voice work, and I know her from Duckman, Private Eye, where she plays, like, the Aunt Beatrice in that show. Beatrice? Yeah, and she's like Duckman's like sister-in-law that he hates, and she has this really mean voice. It's just like her, Jason Alexander, and it's just like even more Seinfeld connections are coming from this movie. So there you go.
Jerry and Julia.
Exactly. I'm sure I could find the connections.
Have we had either of those two on the podcast?
Which ones?
Jerry and Julia, because we've had Jason and Kramer like twice.
Yeah, I don't think we've had Julia. I think we've had Jerry at some point. I don't remember. I've done a lot of Jerry impressions over the years.
What do we make of this, like, his police captain being, like, this overly nice man? He's like, somebody needs a hug.
Like I said, wholesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I wish he'd had more screen time.
Well,
I
they
think
gave
he's
him
my favorite.
I
Yeah.
think they gave him a perfect amount of screen time, if I'm honest.
Actually, you're right. If they'd given him more, it may have become, like, tired.
One,
and
yeah, it
worn
may have
out.
become tired.
To-
I agree.
To be fair, I think there is a long gap between now and his next appearance. Though,
Yeah.
So yeah.
You also forget that Anthony LaPaglia is a
wanting more.
cop after a while.
Yeah.
because-
At one point, I was like, later in the movie, wait, what is his job? I can't.
Oh,
fucking
he's
remember
a
it.
policeman.
He's a policeman.
Liam. So,
No, but I play one on TV.
yeah, this is
There's
this.
this New York Steak Man, Bartek.
Yeah,
Sorry, Ryan.
yeah.
You were saying.
So it's L.A.
Now we're.
I mean, it is the West Coast. And I think
Canada.
they're
Okay,
both,
let's all agree.
they're both in California,
Let's
right?
all agree it's Austin, Texas.
They're on the West
So-
Coast.
Oh, never mind. It's the South Coast.
Let's all agree it's Nashville. Dolly Parton somewhere. No, I really like the thematic and also visual fun that they have with the fact that they work in a butcher's shop. Because obviously she's implied to be an axe murderer via the title, but a murderer with implements, and it's like butchering things,
Yeah, yeah.
and they kind of play around with that. But also it adds some comedic fun to the movie with stuff like this, where Mike Myers is giving the camera a look.
Wow. Did
But
you
then
see that?
you find out the camera
Wondering.
is her.
And now she's like, I don't know whether to be flattered or not because it's Mike Myers.
I am 100% at the rewind the film because there's the German flag on the countertop, and I thought, is that the Aboriginal flag? What the fuck is like going on here? I had to rewind it.
Yeah.
I had to rewind it
Same
because I
colours.
just couldn't believe that they would get the Aboriginal flag. Not saying that they shouldn't, but it's just like it's so odd if they did, like in a Hollywood
you were
movie from the
expecting-
90s.
You're expecting country flags.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it would be cool if they had that, but then they should also have, like, Native American flags. I guess, do they have
I
flags
don't
of their
believe
own?
that they do, no.
Oh, wait, you know. Oh, he's massaging meat. Now, Luke,
Yes.
you're a big meat handler.
I handle plenty of meat on a regular basis.
You have had incidents with
Yes.
meat in your life, haven't you?
I have. Once I put an Oreo inside a Hungry Jack's burger. That's Burger King, for those of you who don't. Hungry Jack's.
Okay, this is not where I was going, but I want to hear this story. How was it? Was it good?
It was, it wasn't.
You put the Oreo inside the burger.
I did it
Interesting
inside your
decision.
old house, actually.
I don't
When you-
remember,
when you
but
lived at Elgar.
I think you should have opened the Oreo up, put the creamy bit in the center of the burger, and the two biscuit parts, one on top of the bun, one on the bottom of the bun. Bartek's nodding at me like, that's what I thought he should have
And I'm
done
just
too.
like,
We
you-
all think, Luke,
All right.
you need to reenact this again,
If this
but
gets-
do it properly.
The
this
taste will
time.
probably be the same, though.
If this episode
No,
gets...
it'll be different because you have the sensation of the biscuits on the tongue more so than you would if you
That's
shoved it
true,
in
yeah.
between the bread.
If this episode gets enough views, or not views, but rather
Well,
Listens.
listens,
hits
I
we
will
call
do
them.
it. I
We
will
call
do it.
them hits
On YouTube, it's views, but
Yo,
on
hits.
on our YouTube. You can listen to it and watch.
we're over
Yeah.
1,000
Beautiful
subscribers now,
Golden
right?
Gate
Yeah.
Bridge.
Yeah.
So Luke,
Wonderful.
And they're looking at the Hudson River.
the Hudson.
Oh,
You can just imagine Woody Allen sitting out there somewhere.
We've got the
Just
Golden
like-
Gate Bridge, we've got the Hudson River. It's good. It's working for me.
I haven't seen Ellis Island anyway, though.
Yeah, okay, guys, how would you react if you were like out on a nightly stroll with Mike Myers and all of a sudden he's saying, "Tell me the most evil thing you've done." Evil.
Well, I would look at him and say, the most evil thing I've ever done was watch your movies, and then just walk away. And then walk away.
I was gonna say
Mike Myers just crying silently.
I was gonna say I haven't seen Sorry I Married an Axe Murderer, but okay.
Well, now we have.
I had to go on this date
we
with
have
you.
we have different levels of evil.
Yeah, well, I've seen So I Married an Axe Murderer, so I can say that.
Yeah.
I like to think they're looking at Mike Myers, not...
They're looking at Mike Myers and not her. I totally agree with that sentiment. Were they speaking Russian?
When I first heard that, I'm like, is that Polish? No, I don't know these words. And then like it's Russian. I'm like, there you go.
Russian,
It's
alright.
Russian.
I like I could be you could use Bartek as a detective or like so is that actually the language? You're like, well, I thought it was Polish, but then I didn't understand the word, so it must be that language. That's always how it goes. Like when I ask you, like, Czechoslovakian,
rule of
what's
thumb.
this sound? You're like, it's
Rule-
close, but it's not the same.
Here's the rule of thumb: it's never Polish.
Do you think there should be more Polish representation in today's
We've had a
films?
couple of movies where they've used... I swear we've had one or two movies on the show where they've spoken Polish, and you're like, hey, they're actually doing it. I swear we've had an instance where the
Unfortunately,
Polish...
all I'm thinking of is that They Call Me Bruce, which allegedly had a Polish gang in it.
Gang in it.
And we only know that because the credits listed them as Polish gang. I'm like, what?
Yeah. I guess that's true.
Maybe there's been some Polish.
Now, for us, we're seasoned Mike Myers fans. What was it like to see Mike Myers here, not being a caricature, but just a normal human, and also the weird things of we see the prototypes of future
Yeah.
characters, like
Yes.
the Scottishness, and he does the Dr. Evil voice a little bit at one point, and stuff like that.
According to IMDB trivia, him saying evil like that is a trademark of his.
I'll imagine...
So he didn't even just invent it. for the
I mean,
film.
it's his
Just-
trademark.
Maybe, I don't know. Did he say it in Wayne's World?
I think he did, actually. I can't remember. Maybe... I'll have to rewatch Wayne's World again.
Let's rewatch
It's been
more.
it's been a little
Let's
while since
rewatch
I...
Range World.
It's been a
Wayne's
handful
World.
of years for me.
I love Wayne's World.
I love both of them, yeah.
I love the first one particularly.
Oh,
But
I've said this
large,
before, when I watch
oversized
the first
poster
one, I
at
just make it a
Atlantic
double
City.
feature with the second one.
so guys, Mike Myers, what was it like? See him prototyping it up, and also just a normal average Joe.
Yeah, with me, I was thinking that, this is one of his earlier films. I actually didn't know if this was before or after Wayne's World until I read the trivia. Because I didn't remember what year Wayne's World was. But I thought, like, since this is early, he might, like, not feel like Mike Myers yet, but
He does.
from line 1 where you got the big coffee, it was Mike Myers, and I was really happy.
Yeah, you gotta remember he did Saturday Night Live for several years, so he's already warmed up.
Yeah, I've never really watched Saturday Night Live, but so I just assume
He has some fun sketches on Saturday Night. Like, obviously, the Wayne's World came from Saturday Night Live, obviously.
Yeah.
There's a great one with them and Madonna. That's pretty fun.
But basically, when I finished watching this film, I said to myself, you know, I can kind of see why it's unappreciated. It's not quite on the same level as like Wayne's World and the Austin Powers films. But if I grew up watching this, I reckon I would have loved this as a younger person.
No, this is only like 0.2 ratings lower than Wayne's World 2. Which is like a 6.5 or something. This is 6.2, I'm pretty sure. 6.3.
Oh, wasn't it 6.8? No, sorry. That was an IMDb review I read.
And obviously Wayne's World is just a 7, which I think is pretty low. I thought that would have been like a 7.5 and or an 8, yeah.
Oh, wow. The Wayne's World, you said it about Austin Powers. It's been like a decade or a bit since I've last seen that. But Wayne's World is always funny to me every time I watch it.
They're still good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird seeing him as a normal human, because even Wayne isn't a normal person. It's all like a wig, and he's all silly hair. And it's like, even in the world of Wayne's World, they're considered losers.
Yeah.
And weirdos. Like, they have their friendship group, but everyone else considers them to be weird and kooky. Now, I know Mike Myers didn't initially write the script for this. He did rewrite the script.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, I've noticed a lot in Mike Myers' works that he has, I don't know how to say it other than just to say it. He has certain problems with women, I'm going to say, because...
How do you mean?
He always carries over real-life relationship things into his movies, like the iconic Lara Flynn Boyle in Wayne's World with giving him a gun rack.
Oh, right, yeah.
And how she's a crazy bitch, and he is, like, always superior to Lara Flynn Boyle, right?
God.
And
his pants.
He has moments like this in this movie, too, where it's just like, oh, this kind of attitude towards women, like making fun of women, like Anthony LaPaglia's date, who is mildly dumb, but he treats it like, ugh, like, you know, and it's like, I notice this a lot. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, Mike Myers has had instances with women in real life that he's found very amusing and very observational and put them into his movies.
And his character kind of sort of breaks character at those points.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with the gun rack, he's all weirded out by it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then he redeems himself with the Austin Powers movies where the women are the super smart, cool ones, and he's a dumbass. Because in this movie, he's not really a dumbass.
He's just a bit clueless at times.
Yeah, but you wouldn't say he's dumb. You would
It's
say
like when he's
just a bit paranoid.
When he's not in his insecure paranoia, he's pretty normal. Yeah.
Now, Luke, when you're starting dating a woman and you don't want to kiss her because then that means kissing on the couch and that means kissing in bed and then
Can I just
sex.
go on record and say that whole like part where he's saying that I was just high rolling.
Because you have said that before, and you're like, dang, I knew.
Because I know you can, like, read the room, so to speak, but it's so presumptuous. It's like, well, if we kiss...
Well, it's Mike Myers, so I think he can get away with it.
Yeah, he's the hero of his own movie.
Hey, look, he's Walter White.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Except...
He's wearing green and tidy whities.
That's a fine head of hair. I mean, otherwise you look like shit, but...
yeah, exactly. He's Walter White in the first episode.
Sexy,
so what I was going to say was...
Yes.
When you're there and then you have the sexy times and then the girl screams out, Ralph, 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 would you feel weird?
I would, because I'm like, who the fuck names their kid Ralph anymore?
Chief Wiggum.
Yeah.
He's very old now.
Ralph Seppi Jr. is going to have some things to say to you.
2019.
And senior, I guess.
And senior.
Well, I would want to know who Ralph is.
Ralph?
I'll just say my girlfriend talks in her sleep all the time, so it would probably be like the 12th, 13th weirdest thing I'd heard.
Ralph!
It's a question. What would Rafe Fiennes say about it?
He would say nothing.
Okay.
What do we think of Rafe Fiennes?
I think he's great.
I think he's great.
He should have been in this movie as the sister. I would have loved it. It's like, she was in My Left Foot. I mean, that's Daniel Day-Lewis, but like, come on. I would love it if Rafe Fiennes and Daniel Day-Lewis were in this movie, and Rafe Fiennes was the sister, and Daniel Day-Lewis was Mike Myers.
Oh, wait, who's playing? Okay, who are we going to get to replace Anthony LaPaglia?
No, he stays.
Oh, I was hoping we could get Daniel Day-Lewis to
No,
play Tony.
he stays.
Let's get Jonah Hill to play.
No, Jonah Hill could be the poet at the beginning with the red curly hair.
Yeah.
He's just like, I got abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
Or we get Carrot Top, the person they clearly wanted. to be that
Yeah.
person? Because
All
my
right, we
girlfriend
got
said, is that Carrot
discount
Top?
Carrot Top now.
So when she screams Ralph, 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 do you then immediately go into paranoia mode?
No, I just think it's extremely strange. I'd like to know about it, but I'm not like.
And then if
overly
she said,
worried.
I have a female friend who's called Ralph, would you believe?
I
know, I wouldn't. I wouldn't
Ralph
believe.
is not, as far as I know, a woman's name.
Ralphie? I
Maybe.
swear, yeah, isn't
Maybe
there a
Ralph.
female character in something called Ralphie?
Well, I can.
There's something out there.
There's a male character called Ralphie in Johnny Mnemonic.
I know.
Yeah.
I remember Ralphie.
Can I just say, based on
You lied.
Rose's erratic manner here, how did Charlie ever think that Harriet was the murderer?
Well, it's because he didn't really get to know Rose that well
I guess.
overall.
Just look at her though. She's
Yeah.
fucking
She's
eyes
just
darting.
she's just an artist. Luke.
Artist.
But
We
also
know
by
us.
Luke, by that implication, you could also then tenfold see everything he saw about Harriet being a dead giveaway as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I know. Us as viewers kind of like see what people. In the
did you
movie
expect?
don't.
Okay, so I've already mentioned the twist on a level. Rose, the sister, is actually the axe murderess.
Yeah.
Did you guys expect a twist, and were you satisfied? Did you know what the twist was going to be?
Saw a little bit of it coming. Like I didn't know for sure, but I'm like, I figure this twist will not shock me. If Tony ended up being,
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I actually be pretty good.
I would
would.
fucking love that.
Yeah, because he's the one that like is the one constantly telling Charlie that he's the crazy one.
Nah, it should have been
hiding
Vicky.
in plain sight.
Oh right, yeah. Vicky.
My favorite secondary character in the movie, like my favorite one scene wonder, Phil Hartman as Vicky, which is coming up right now, isn't it?
Yeah, they're going to Alcatraz. I think.
I think-
yes, Phil Hartman. Maybe
Phil Hartman, yeah, may he rest in peace, buddy. But Phil Hartman, that dry delivery is what makes all of what he says work. Like script-wise, is a bit, like when you look at it on paper, it's not that funny. But the way he delivers it with that dry, very monotone delivery, whereas it's like, my name's John Johnston, but people call me Vicky. It sounds like a bit like Troy McClure, but not really. But what about you, Bartek? Twist. Did you see the puzzle pieces?
You know, I wasn't saying to myself it's Rose. I was just kind of. I guess I was really engaged in the film. I was like, what's it going to be? Like, where's it going? I guess I wasn't trying to second guess it or anything like that.
Yeah, that's
So-
fair.
yeah.
You do get sucked up in the journey.
Yeah.
I think
when it happened, it was a thing of like, oh yeah, if I wasn't so engaged, I think I could have seen that coming, but I didn't.
I think that I have a problem with the title of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it works. Don't get me wrong. I don't have any anything better to offer as a title, but at the same time, I feel like it gives certain things away. It misleads, and stuff like that. When you hear "So I married an axe murderer," implies, well, it just says I've married the axe murderer, but he did not marry the axe murderer.
Yeah, and also. Like
he
when
married the axe murderer's sister.
Yeah,
like,
when you mentioned the butcher thing and like, oh yeah, kind of connects to the title. That I didn't realize that in my initial viewing, but what
subtle
with the whole story about the Mrs. X or whatever it is, was it mentioning that they were murdered via axe?
No, I think they were just mentioned that they were missing and or murdered.
Yeah,
I know.
One of them was
axe murderer-
poisoned, actually.
Oh well.
like if anything,
Because that's why he's afraid of the drink.
Yeah, if anything, it only seems like they were foreshadowing to the climax where the murderer this time happens to have an axe.
Now, I know that this is a grand statement, but my favorite part of the movie is once they got to that hotel. And I know that this would be a complete rewrite of the movie. I'm very happy with how the movie is. Like, I enjoyed this sequence. And this sequence kind of ties into the hotel thing. But I kind of wish that the whole movie was in that hotel.
Yeah.
In that crazy, wacky love hotel where everyone's forcing them to fall in love.
So, like, the whole film's the honeymoon?
I wish the whole movie, pretty much I wish at least 60% of the movie was the honeymoon hotel. I don't know why. I just really liked that hotel, like the maitre d' and the waiters and the bellboy and everyone there, and the way it was shot and all the other patrons and all that and the residents and all that. I don't know, it just really gave this
A lot of
tense
energy,
atmosphere and
yeah.
funny atmosphere, as well as scenes like this. Like, I guess my thing is, I wish it kind of leaned a little bit more into that kind of over-the-top absurdity that is Mike Myers' strength.
Maybe he didn't want to after Wayne's World.
Well, exactly. Also, this wasn't something he was in charge of as much as Wayne's World
he
and
was,
Austin Powers.
He was a writer on this, but I don't think he
Yeah.
was credited, or someone wasn't credited.
Yeah, there was an
His
original writer, but
friend-
he rewrote the script
Yeah.
and stuff. But
Wasn't it that he rewrote it with a friend from the UK, and the friend from the UK wasn't credited?
Yeah, I think that's the case. There's a
Yeah.
whole big behind-the-scenes dramas about if Mike Myers was an asshole or not.
Yeah,
Like, the director was like, nah, he was alright. But everyone else was like, nah,
he
he's
said,
a prick.
it was difficult, but he was professional
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah,
The
it was
census
difficult
is he
because
wasn't an
Mike
asshole.
Myers wanted to do so much, but he was like, he wasn't a prima donna. He wasn't
Yeah.
acting like
The common
he
threads-
wasn't lashing out. It was just like he really wanted to get this right.
It seems like the common thread was that Mike Myers was into it, at least. So
I mean, he
that's
was
good.
so into it that Nancy Travis got distracted and nearly chopped off her fucking finger.
Yeah, she chopped off the tip of
Yikes.
her finger, yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
hence
also,
there's a sequence where she has a band-aid or something.
I'd like to point out a bit of trivia of this film.
I'll allow it.
In 2008, so how many years is that? Like 15 years after it first came
He was
out.
in Inglourious Bastards.
No, in 2008. This movie received a re-release deluxe edition, but it had no extra features. It was exactly the same.
2008 might be the year that I had that poetry class.
yeah.
This-
Guys.
She was in Goodfellas, wasn't she?
I think so.
She was. She was
She's
a minor
in
character.
She's in tons. So, Empire Records reunion right here.
Mm,
Empire Records reunion tour.
that's great.
I'm very happy for them all. Yeah, she's been in a few things that we've done. Like, she's always had different color hair. I think she was also. I have to look her up. Yeah,
I don't know.
it's
her
like
name.
Debbie Mazar or something or other.
That's what it says here on
She
Wikipedia,
has these
yeah.
beautiful eyes. Like you just look at her eyes;
very
they're very
distinctive
distinctive eyes. We've had her in a few things other than Empire Records. I'm like, oh, it's her again, and you're like, oh, who was she in Empire Records? And I'm like, it's this character. And you're like, I forgot that there was that character. I'm like, how could you forget Rex Manning's secretary or a manager, assistant of some variety? She's great all the time, and I really liked her in this sequence. And here's another thing: I kind of wish she was in it more. You know, she's a one-scene wonder, you know,
Yeah.
and I really liked her
a lot of that,
atmosphere. Because I think they did a good job of her dumbness in this. Because, you know, like, it wasn't too over-the-top and too, like, blatantly, like, stereotypical. Like, I've met some people, men and women, who are a bit dull and dumb and dim
Yeah.
like this.
Especially if you hang out with a lot of, like, generally funny people.
Here, she reminded us of our friend and frequent guest, Reese McKenzie.
How is
Which
Reese?
is very weird because their last name is Mackenzie, isn't it?
Yeah, Mackenzie, the Scottish version.
Mackenzie.
Reese has the
Mackenzie.
Irish one.
Oh no, it's raining.
Have you? Oh man,
I
yeah.
can't believe none of them brought an umbrella.
Well, it wasn't raining before, and they didn't have Google to tell them that it was going to rain.
Where's your weather app?
I saw this amazing post online that was someone that was like, "Oh, I never look up the weather before I go out, or I never ever look up the weather. I never watch the weather thing." And they're like, "Well, how do you prepare yourself when it's going to suddenly rain?" And they just go, "I take my chances." And it's like such a weird, like, for like the post frames it in a way that, like, that's such a weird idea. But that's just like how the world used to work. We used to not know if it was going to rain later today. Like, I looked up the weather today, and it was like strong chance of showers later today. And I'm like looking outside, it's like sunny and clear.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
right?
I wouldn't have guessed that. Would not have guessed that, but now I'm going to guess it. So, Luke, they did not realize that they should have brought umbrellas.
No, and now it stopped raining, so maybe they're... Oh, they got a car to drive in.
Yeah, exactly.
They're good.
Exactly.
This
So-
extra really selling it as Trenchcoat Man.
Oh, I thought you meant long-haired dude right here.
Oh, long-haired
walking
dude.
past
Oh,
with his
dog.
doggy.
That dog is dead by now.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
there is an
Oh,
animal in
Luke,
this
Luke
film.
took it from my mouth. The dog's dead by now.
It's a shame.
He didn't do your lead-up thing.
World's biggest baby.
Is the baby dead by now?
Probably.
Wow, Luke. That baby is
They're
now
probably-
Kim Jong-un.
Everyone knows Kim Jong-un is just a mimic. He's not real.
He's a clone.
He's a shapeshifter.
a shapeshifter of one fat baby man to another fat baby man.
One baby.
I really thought that Mike Myers was going to wear the kilt in this sequence, but
what
he
are
didn't.
those called again? They're like the things that his dad's wearing.
Sock suspenders, right?
No, they got a name, but I don't remember.
I think they're called the sock suspenders. I think that's
that'll
what they're called.
He's so very Scottish.
Oh, yes. It took 3 hours of work to get him to look like that.
Mm.
I'm really surprised it
hours.
took 3 hours.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
it doesn't
was the
look like a
90s, but
3 hour. That doesn't even
It's-
say much.
yeah,
Because
it's not
prosthetic
like-
makeup was pretty great then.
It's
as
not like
well.
Nothing But Trouble
I mean,
or anything.
Yeah. Go on, Luke.
For comparison's sake, in Guardians of the Galaxy, Dave Bautista, who plays Drax, who's got
Yeah.
looks very alien. That takes 3 hours in the makeup.
And that's a
show,
whole
right?
chest
Yeah.
and head thing.
Whereas this is
Just some grey
face
hair,
and-
and they've made him have an after, like a 5 o'clock shadow.
yeah.
I don't know.
3
Like,
hours,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Is there a skin thing going on?
Well, I think it's that he's just chubbier
Yeah.
in the face, but also it's hard to tell because he's doing his accent, and that makes his jaw sit
Yeah,
differently.
yeah.
So, but apparently it took 3 hours, and I find that as staggering. Not even for and that's including the 90s, because shows like Babylon 5, a television
True,
show with low
actually,
budget,
yeah.
had full prosthetic
of
aliens, and
sci-fi.
it took them about 4 or 5 hours to get them to look like that. And this is not that.
Maybe he kept starting over and just like, no, it's not right. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
right.
Mike Myers in his thick Canadian accent.
It's not right. It's not right.
Is that your Canadian accent?
I don't know what accent this is.
Because he's Canadian, remember?
It's like slightly Scottish.
I
I like
know.
this visual gag of them throwing
Yeah.
darts at the Queen. It's such a great gag.
I like visual gags where like they don't have to explain.
Yeah, when I was
They're
watching
just
it,
there.
watching it last night, I was a bit far from the screen. I couldn't tell what that was, but now I'm a bit closer. It was the Queen. Yeah.
I really do agree with Luke. I like the visual gag. Then they just let it sit there.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have like the obnoxious, like, you know what a modern
Yeah.
movie would do now,
They'd
or
acknowledge it.
ones from this time even. No. The door will close, the picture will be there, and it'll stay on it, and then you'll hear like "God Save the Queen" or like, some British music like dun 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 dun, like just to emphasize the point.
yeah.
That get it? It's the Queen.
Or it would be a conversation point, or at least like have a line or two dedicated
Visual
to it.
gags work best when there is
Like, huh? You're not a fan of the Queen, huh?
Like Just to Kill right here on the back. Nice little
Yeah.
little reference point of like
To
the
remind
fear
us.
of murder and the fear of death.
fear of death. Why would anyone be afraid of
Now,
death?
if I looked at you, Bartek, through the toilet door,
Mm-hmm.
like Mike is here and you're sitting there with, say, your mother, and you see me and we lock eyes like in this moment, would you want to have a conversation about that moment between us two later, or would you just never want to bring it up ever?
Ah,
Yeah, if you did it,
she's seen me.
if you did a thing like just before you closed the door, you smiled or did a funny face, I'd be like, oh, it's a gag. But the fact that he didn't means
Yeah.
that like I think there was something going on there.
Hey, is it me, or does he look incredibly like Wayne during this entire sequence, just mainly because the darkness covers up his head, and when he kind of is in the car, when he's in car sequences, it reminds me of him being Wayne, because
Well,
you
this-
remember the
this-
famous car sequence in Wayne's World.
Yeah, they did like head thing.
Like
Head.
he just, I don't know, when the darkness engulfs his head, it's just like it reminds me he is
I'll be
Wayne.
honest, this reminded me more of Annie Hall than Wayne's World.
What, is he Christopher Walken?
Well, I mean, who else would he
This
be?
film could do some Christopher Walken. He could have played the.
Well, he was in Wayne's World 2, if that makes you
Yeah.
feel any better. I've said this
It
before,
does.
and I'll say it again. My favorite thing about the Wayne's World movies is Ed O'Neill as the owner of
The diner.
the diner, and how the cat. Look, he looks so much like Wayne here. I don't know why. It's just like the hair is just right enough, but it's also engulfed in darkness, so you don't fully see it. I don't know. It just remind me of Wayne here too, actually. But
The same actor, actually.
is it?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I thought it was Dana Carvey.
Which one's Dana Garvey again?
Carvey.
Carvey?
Carvey, yeah, Garth.
Garth and Master of Disguise.
Right.
Oh, you want to limit him to those? I'd limit
The
him
Dana
to
Carvey
Master
show.
of Disguise.
guy
What
who
a
made
movie.
Dr. Evil's voice first, and then Mike Myers ripped it off. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, that's
that
a
movie.
fact.
I think it's rated the lowest ever on like various websites. Master
Oh
of Disguise.
no, you haven't seen Kirk Cameron Saving Christmas, evidently.
Is that the lowest?
That was for a very long time, but then there's always a new champion
Always
of.
an up and
There's
coming,
always a new champion of the
low-
garbage tip.
a descending star, as it were.
Look at him,
Aw.
Anthony
A
LaPaglia.
soulful
He's
look
so
from
young.
Anthony LaPaglia would.
I
do
mean,
you
we
good.
all remember he's Australian, obviously.
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
did.
Australian.
No, I did. I did. Sometimes I forget,
One
but
of
I do.
my friends' parents went to school with him, actually. They were both from South Australia, I do believe. And she said that he was very nice.
He
He's a very
seems
nice
like
guy.
he'd be nice.
He seems like he could be a bit of a ball buster, too.
Well,
I always
when he
think
played
of-
Joe, yeah.
And also, when he was in Looking for Alabrandy,
Hmm.
he was a bit of a, I don't know, he was a bit rough around the edges in that movie. That's my Anthony LaPaglia impression. Bartek, yours? Fuck me in the ass!
Yeah, I was gonna make a reference to that, but couldn't think of one.
Just say it in Polish.
I don't know how to say that in Polish.
What's fuck?
Sure, you don't.
I mean, I know not in the context of sex, but fuck is kurwa.
Kurwa.
Like kurwa. Fuck.
That's not what I was expecting for that one.
You also gotta roll the R a bit, like kurwa.
What's this silly Polish word that you taught me the other week on this show? Was it like poo or shit?
Oh, poo is kupa. Ass is dupa.
As in like King
Dupa!
Koopa.
Dupa!
Yeah,
Koopa and Dupa.
Koopa and
Attorneys at
Dupa!
law.
and just bottom is pupa.
And then,
Bottom is
then
wow.
Obi Groby Kwanzaa.
Duże grube kłamczuch.
His big fat liar.
I also reminded you of Old Lady Must Die. Old Lady Must Disappear. Disappear is zniknąć.
Nicknonch.
On the nick.
See, now, they
computer.
do a really good job in this sequence here of giving you a character of what this type of woman is with the nails, her haircut and earrings and her makeup. Like, you get an instant understanding of who this woman is just visually looking at her before you even get her physically manifesting what type of policewoman this is and like her attitude. Like, I really like the fact that you get certain minor characters when you get the right costume, the right little touches that give you the exact understanding of who this character is before they even speak. Like when we see later on Michael Richard comes into this movie, Kramer from Seinfeld comes in, we get an understanding of what type of guy he is by what he's wearing and his hair and all of that before he even says a word. And I just love those little touches in the visual language of film, especially in comedies. It adds quite a lot to the proceedings. Like a funny mustache could add so much.
And even earlier when we were talking about the guy that isn't Carrot Top, like you can just look at him and think like,
and
this is
what
a
pretentious
dweeby guy.
dweeb, yeah.
He's giving this sci-fi story.
Oh,
that claims
not a
is real.
sex machine?
Well, I mean, dweebs can be sex machines.
Yeah, dweebs are in.
This guy looks like the guy from Dark Knight Rises, the Szechuan chicken man.
Yeah, you mean Christopher Nolan's uncle, John Nolan?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
What was his character's name?
Fredericks.
Fredericks, that's it. He looks like Fredericks.
Yes, of course. He was in Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises, but not in The Dark Knight. I think he just decided that he let Heath get the Oscar for that one.
This movie doesn't need me. It already
Now,
has.
if my fiance came up to me with a health drink with all the stuff that she described, I would also run away. I do not want that drink. Get it away from me. But I unfortunately do not have a closet with a glass door, which he does in this.
Yeah, all your doors are wood, I think.
Yes, they're all doors.
They
are like doors are.
Odd.
Yeah. You don't have any metal doors, no glass.
I know they've had like their relationship montage earlier. How long has it been now?
Oh, I think it's been like
Couple weeks.
a month or two at this point, you know. And oops, everything fell on him.
I
Now,
like how long this went
Wow.
for.
I know. I want you to
Wow.
answer. How did he open the door? Because he doesn't actually touch the doorknob.
Yeah, I was paying attention to the area around it, like, is there going to be some shuffling? But not so much. I guess the door just kind of forced itself open.
Sometimes you can, all the weight pushing on it.
All right, Bartek, try and do that with my door.
Well, the
Alright,
problem
everyone,
with
pause your video.
the problem with the door here is that this is a pool door. To
All
get
right, how
out.
about you go out and you try and push in?
Should I?
Yeah, go away. While Bartek's out there,
Not yet.
we'll discuss what we're doing in here.
What are we doing in here, Ryan?
Well, we're watching the movie. Okay, so now Bartek's gone.
Finally.
Jeez, that
All
guy
right, time to talk so
smells.
much shit about Bartek.
Let's talk positives about
This
him, so that when he
was
comes
all a
back
front,
in,
ladies
when he
and
comes
gentlemen.
back, no, let's talk positives about Bartek, so that when he comes back in, he gets nothing but negatives. You know what I really like about Bartek? He can push doors.
He absolutely can. He is capable of that
He's
motor
still out
function.
there trying to push a door. How you going, Bartek? You going good?
You're right, buddy.
He's trying.
He's giving it his all, ladies and
He's
gents.
giving it his all. I'm seeing the doorknob wiggle a little. Keep going, buddy.
Unfortunately, I think the simple design of this door is working against him.
It's just working against him. My door is working against Bartek. It's called the laws of physics. He twisted the knob. No, I see what you do.
You have broken the rules.
Bartek's trying to figure out how to
You were
manipulate
not
the
supposed to
knob.
turn the knob. You have turned the knob. You have broken the rules.
You have
of
broken the rules.
Sacred task.
Bartek couldn't do it.
This door is not suitable for
That's what
So
I'm
I Married
saying.
an Axe Murderer.
Bartek is just
Myth
a
busted.
nice guy. And you can talk to him about just about
This
anything.
is when I should be extra audio, and audio drop the Mythbusters music with like Mythbusted, and then you hear that clank clank sound of the metal sheets that they use for when they have busted, and they drop the sheet of like plank of metal and just doink. You remember that? You remember Mythbusters? How they do that?
I haven't watched it on TV, but I saw a couple
I
of
remember one
clips on
Mythbusters
YouTube.
episode. They made a trebuchet.
I remember that too. I also remember Mythbusters. I've talked about them on the podcast before and their lazy methods. But let's not get on to that.
Yeah.
Let's get on to the fact that Mike Myers likes to be scratched.
Okay, Ryan, if
But-
your fiance was just talking like, even just like in a sort of like wandering way, oh, I could do anything to you in your sleep. I could slit your throat or anything. Would you start to feel a bit concerned?
No, I would threaten her back with something as well.
Well done.
And I could do this.
Yeah.
It's called
Aye.
Yes and, actually.
Yeah, it's called improvising.
And there was a trivia point about how Mike
Accept
Myers taught
and offer.
Nancy Travis about improvising.
And just comedy
Yeah.
presence on the screen, and she really absorbed that knowledge. I thought she was really fun in this.
yeah.
Like, she wasn't a sourpuss, which a lot of female roles can be in comedic movies, especially because her character isn't playing anything for comedy. Like, in Wayne's World, what's her name?
Cassandra?
Yeah, Cassandra, Tia Carrere or something like that. She is playing it for more comedy. Like, she gets to have comedy in that movie. She
Yeah.
is also serious, but she gets comedy. Nancy Travis doesn't get comedy in this, but she has a light playfulness that is really fun. Like, when she is confronting him at the end, it's kind of funny. Like, here's the famous scene. This is probably one of the best scenes in the movie, too. Of course, this guy here, the obituary writer with the mustache, we've seen this guy in everything. He's in so much, this guy. And,
There he is.
like I said, he's in the Austin Powers movies, and obviously he's in an episode or two of Seinfeld. Would you like to guess what kind of roles he plays? A lot?
Does he play roles of people that like to eat?
Yes, but obviously he usually plays security guys, landlords, truck drivers, or garbage men, like those kind of like blue collar, working class.
Men roles.
I always think of him from the film Overboard, the Kurt Russell Goldie Hawn movie, where Goldie Hawn is a rich bitch who gets a head injury and doesn't remember anything, and Kurt Russell says that they're married even though they're not. And he's like Kurt Russell's
I gotta watch this
sleazy
movie.
maintenance friend, and he's great.
We saw
That movie's great in general. That's a movie that solely relies on pure chemistry of the two leads. Like you could look at that movie as a creepy, weird movie about Kurt Russell manipulating a beautiful woman, but like it just holds up because of their chemistry and their real life couple, so that works.
We saw Michael Richards in Coneheads, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, thought so.
I love this. I just love his explosion. And I was watching this with my fiance, and she's not really watched much of Seinfeld. And I just said, "Oh man, he going full Kramer right
He
now."
is, look at
And she
him.
goes, "Oh, the voice is different." I'm like, "Nah, you haven't heard Kramer go off. That's how Kramer goes off.
Wikipedia lists this character as just insensitive man.
He is.
Yep.
That's right.
I'm a bad man."
I'm insensitive.
He was my ride home.
This is a pretty good scene.
It was. It was one of the comedic highlights of the movie,
I
just
enjoyed
because
it.
Kramer comes in.
What year did Seinfeld start?
I want to say
Was it 90?
I think it was around this time because it went for like
I think it
10
went.
seasons.
Didn't it go to like 97?
It went to around there. I'm gonna look it up.
Look it up, bruz. I can't remember, but
He would have already been Kramer at this point.
Was he in Coneheads by this point? I think Coneheads came out around the same time as this, actually.
Either 93 or 95-ish, I'm thinking.
Oh, Chris Farley was alive. Measure it by that.
Everything is before Chris Farley and after.
Yeah, well, that's my timeline.
Well, Chris Farley made it to the 2000s, right?
Late 90s, early 2000s, because Shrek
was
put.
2001, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that had to be pushed back because he died.
Yeah, so...
And they got Mike Myers instead, the comedic joy of Mike
It
Myers.
began in... Well, that was preemptive because it doesn't say. Here we go, 1989 to 1998.
There you go.
Oh, 98.
So this is a couple years into...
Okay, yeah, so like just about halfway or...
So
approaching
at the
halfway.
peak of Seinfeld, you might say, because that show really started to pick up
yes.
third, fourth season,
It did.
Yeah.
like most shows of that era, like Star Trek included. Now, have you guys ever had to do the breaking up in a relationship?
Like instigating the breakup?
Yeah.
I have, but it was like a mutual thing. Like we both wanted to, so it was like very.
So
little
you
bloodshed.
didn't reject
No.
her in a public park?
I didn't have to cleave anyone.
Ah, yes. Bartek?
No, I haven't.
Nor have I. But I
We're
imagine
all
it's...
fortunate men.
Well, you have, but it was a mutual thing.
Yeah,
at
it was
least.
like it was so like whatever. It was just like that.
But did you then start writing slam poetry with a duck in the background?
No,
at the
but
Hudson
I
River?
did write a poem after I got cheated on a few years ago.
Really?
Yeah,
Man, what was the poem called?
I'm not telling you.
You can't even tell me the title.
No,
What was it
Is
called?
it their name?
no, it's oh god no,
Oh, is it woman?
no.
Whoa, man.
Whoa, man!
Okay,
I
maybe-
got
all right.
cheated on.
I'll tell you the name because it couldn't be as bad as this. It was called Hearts of Men.
Hearts of Men. That's a great. That sounds like a novel.
Thank you.
Like you should write that as a novel, and it's about like
The man who gets cheated.
yeah, it's about a feudalistic society. Like it should be like Game of Thrones.
So now all I can think of is Children of Men, which is like a dystopia, not a feudalistic society. But
Yeah, yours should be the preamble to Children of Men.
You should have called it, "You cheated on me and I am sad."
like how they got to that point in
Right,
Children
man
of
gets
Men.
cheated on. He gets so angry, he engineers a virus that stops everyone from having kids.
Exactly. Ah, Children of Men. I wish we lived in that universe, but
Well,
we can.
who's the main character in Children of Men?
Men. And they're all these
Shut the
children.
fuck up.
You asked. That was a great transition.
Yeah, this I've seen it a few times now. Like when they walked out of frame and then like the scene was.
It was very
transitioning.
Star Wars.
What do you? Oh, the wipe.
It was a wipe, but
It's
also
a
a bit
weird
of
wipe.
green screen trickery as well.
Well, at the beginning they had the
like a
tram doing it. It kind of reminded me a little bit of
The Room?
Well, no, this reminded me more of The Room because it was on a roof.
Oh, but I thought the tram because that's how we first meet
Yes,
Johnny.
well, first see Johnny. I
Yeah,
guess,
that's meeting him. We meet him, but then
in the
Lisa...
same way we're meeting the guy that was just in the car there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but he's not the main character. Visual contact with the main character in any moment is first meeting them.
Huh, there's this one guy that stands out on that San Francisco tram. I wonder if he's going to be.
But he
a thing.
really does stand out.
all in
San
black
Francisco is very
sunglasses.
Every time I've watched The Room with someone new, they're like, "Oh, that's him, right?" So, because I've watched it with a few people who don't even know about Tommy
That's a
Wiseau,
watch.
Yeah.
and they see that guy on
always
the
great.
tram, and they're like, "Oh, is that him? Is that the main guy?" And you're
Is
like,
that the guy whose name I've just read 4 times?
not as much as Ben and Arthur,
Oh yeah, yeah.
where the guy's like credited like 18 times.
wasn't like borderline everything, but like one
Yeah.
or two things.
He's
yeah.
no Neil Breen though.
Mm.
But what were we on about?
San Francisco wipes.
Wipes.
Oh, wiping. Do you wipe
Transitions.
front or back, scrunch or fold?
I like to vary it.
You like to vary it.
I do. I'm
Luke's a
interesting man.
Luke's a circular rub wiper. Like he does it in a circular
You know,
motion.
I just believe we're all in a circle
Centrifugal
of life, so I think we
wiping.
should
Bartek,
Centrifugal
scrunch or fold.
Fold.
Okay, front or back?
Oh, you mean which direction?
Yeah, which direction do you wipe?
motion.
Back.
No, for real.
Ah.
Which hand do you use?
Left or right?
I've mainly right.
Yeah.
Me too, buddy.
There have been times where I've used
My
left.
my
but
right arm was in a cast a few years ago, and I had to use my left, and it was just the most foreign feeling.
When
Why was your arm in a cast?
I fractured it playing sport.
Back in 2014, when I had my back thing, I was leaning to the left, so it kind of hurt to reach my right hand all the way there, so I had to use my left.
You're making me think of in the movie with Bob Hope, the Paleface. There's a whole sequence in which he has to do a showdown, and they're giving him tips. It's like, he leans to the left when he draws, so you should aim to the right. And it's like,
think I
he
remember that, yeah.
stands on his toes when he shoots, so you should crouch towards the ground.
Yes,
the sun's
I remember
rising
that,
from the
yeah.
east, so you should aim towards the west. Or the wind's coming in or whatever. And then he models that up. It's like, he stands on the wind, so you better aim towards his toes. So he just mixes it all
Oh,
up.
this is the scene that I saw a decade ago.
And does it live up?
Yep. I mean, I have context now too, and it's still great. I remember the unlove Ed,
Unlove Ed.
and then he mentions the haggis as well, and that was like, oh, when I saw the haggis earlier, it's like, this must be Harriet.
This is how you win someone back.
I mean, I would win them back like this too, yeah.
I think the teacher referred to this scene as the "this poem sucks" scene, because it's the last line.
It's a great it's a great sequence. It is a great sequence.
Would you show it in a Year 9 English class?
Well, Year 9 maybe not. Year 7 definitely.
Okay, so I got it a bit late.
Yeah. Maybe because you guys were slow learners.
Well, we didn't do poetry until Year 9. So yeah.
Well, there you go.
I mean, I'd like.
Hello. Sorry. If there's any silence, we should just go hello, and the audience will laugh because that's what Mike Myers did.
A soundbite like a radio station. You just touch a button and the sound effect happens.
But it's like one of those radio ones where it's like, hello.
You're listening to Radio KBBL.
With shock jocks with sound effects.
Was that the caller from hell?
Whoa. I loved back in the day, Triple J used to do that with like when Will Anderson and I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who does the science stuff now. He has like the wacky eye. No, the Australian guy, like the bald guy. He's Adam something.
Carl.
No, you're thinking of Dr. Carl. It's like Adam something or other. He has like the wacky eye. They would do those things, like the sound effects of whoa, but they'll do them from movies. And the one that they always ended it with was Dr. Evil. And it was, can somebody throw me a freaking bone here? Which is one of the best lines from Dr. Evil. Right up there with like, then he shaved my scrotum.
Ritualistically shaped my testicles.
Testicles.
Would you be?
Now here it is. Were we excited to see Michael Myers and Mike Myers
Sculptured ass?
It's a sculpted butt.
Did we?
I didn't realize she grabbed it.
Yeah, neither.
I didn't realize that.
I did.
Moments like this in the movie, I'm like, I don't know. They're trying for comedy.
I mean,
they're trying for an Austin Powers level of.
I
comedy.
laughed. I laughed at the sexual assault he just had.
Yeah,
Um.
Did we see his ass in Austin Powers, or do they just block it?
I think they block it with in Austin Powers 2, where they do the whole opening sequence where it's in the hotel.
And I know that in the first film, when Mrs. Kensington's talking to her daughter,
and they
he's in the background, they're blocking it.
Yeah.
I think a large part of this movie is like women kind of just like good-naturedly going along with whatever Mike Myers does.
Well, I would. I'm going along with it now. For some reason, I think I'm just going to say it now. It's very odd that Anthony LaPaglia looks exactly like Tom Savini.
In which film?
In life.
In just yeah, he does.
I mean, Tom Savini just looks like that in general. Bartek, do you know who Tom Savini is?
It slipped my mind.
He's primarily known for special, like,
he was in
makeup.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
He was in From Dusk Till Dawn, but he's primarily known for makeup. Like Dawn of the Dead, like all the zombie makeup and horror makeup and stuff like that.
I think we've talked about it before,
he's an actor too, and he's appeared in quite a bunch of things. And I think he was in Land of the Dead as a zombie, and like, hey, it's Tom Savini.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
But he has this kind of the black hairstyle and the goatee like that, and
he looks very Italian.
Yeah, and he's in a bunch, but yeah, From Dusk Till Dawn, he's famous in that because he has the cod piece little minigun that shoots out, and it's like a dick, but the rounds are like look like testicles.
And his character's name is Love Machine.
Love Machine.
Which is the best.
Love Machine.
Name.
He turns into a vampire.
But he's an asshole who doesn't tell them he's turning into a vampire. Yeah, he's one of those fuckers.
Dusk Till Dawn is such an odd
Dude,
movie.
You would love From Dusk Till Dawn.
It starts off very
Tarantino.
Yeah, and it's like no supernatural elements at all.
No, my favorite part. Favorite part of From Dusk Till Dawn is they have Carl Williams in it.
Carl Williams was in that?
He's the black guy, isn't he?
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't remember.
There's this big black guy who's like talking about like in Vietnam, and then while he's talking about Vietnam, we cut over to Tom Savini turning into a vampire, and he's like trying to force the change to go away, and then we cut back to Carl Williams talking about. Like, I think it's talking about his Vietnam experience, and now he's like crouched on the ground with his fingers in like eye stabbing positions, and then he's screaming about something, and he's just like, and I said, Ho Chi Minh, motherfucker! And that's the end of his story, and they all clap. And I'm like, I want to know what the fuck that story was. Give me that movie now, Tarantino. I don't care about your Charles Manson movie that you're going to release later this year. I want that movie about that guy from Dusk Till Dawn. Maybe in the TV series that they made.
They made a TV series, didn't they?
Yeah, they expand upon his character.
And the guy that played Quentin Tarantino's character looks even more creepy.
Yeah,
I
as
think
they
that's possible.
should. But, Bartek, were you disappointed that Mike Myers did not wear a kilt enough in this movie?
You know, now that you mention it,
Yeah, I've mentioned it.
wore a lot of pants. Well, in the last scene, he ass
At
was
the-
grabbed bare, but
In the wedding, he wears a kilt, I think.
yes,
But so does the sister. The Rose, she wears a kilt,
yeah.
and that's a no-no. Women don't wear kilts.
Well, I guess this film's progressive.
Which is odd.
It's culturally offensive. Women
Really?
are supposed to wear long plaid skirts that go to like way beyond the knee that has to match with the shirt that they're wearing. I looked this up because I was like, I'm sure women don't wear kilts. They have to wear like a...
So of course
Brian,
that means
Brian,
that
look, they're wearing sporrans.
Oh yeah, you wear sporrans with kilts, of
Yeah.
course.
For those of you who don't,
I
Ryan,
own a sporran.
Ryan, tell us what a sporran is. For those of us who
It's
don't
a
know.
thing that you put in front of your kilt. I'm not Scottish. I
What's
just
it
have
made
a
of?
sporran. Well, my one's made out of seal fur, but like that's the special. You know, they're made out of several beasts.
I think way back when we did the Avengers, that was the one where I asked what a sporran was, and you explained it.
Bartek's favorite character was the priest because of
I
his
see.
facial
I've
expression.
I've already said Alan Arkin.
I assume
but,
that was the
yeah.
Avengers with
Yeah,
Sean Connery.
with
Sean
Ray
Connery.
Fiennes. Yeah.
Yeah.
not the
See, she's wearing
Rob Downey
The
Jr.
real
kilt.
Avengers.
Oh, his leg went up
Hmm.
because he
Oh.
got kissed.
Oh, isn't that funny?
Oh, wait, I don't even think this. I'll have to see the sequence, but I really don't remember the dad wearing a kilt. I thought he was wearing trousers in
I'm
this
pretty
too.
sure he's wearing a kilt.
LaPaglia looks pretty good.
Well, he is. There he is.
Yeah.
I think they really did a great job, even for the 90s and even for now, blending the two Mike Myers together. There's a really impressive shot we already missed where Mike Myers, we're following him in a one-take, like one-tracking shot of him up the stairs, walking down the stairs to hug the father, and it's like a one-take shot. And we do see Mike Myers' face on both of them, but there must have been like some digital trickery or whatever with stand-ins and whatnot. But I think they did a really great
I
job.
think there is a stunt double listed in the credits.
Oh yeah, of course
Yeah.
they have to have doubles and that. But like,
I think I can't remember who he had the interview. I think it was a Stephen Colbert one where Mike Myers was talking about how when he goes to the UK, there are like 5 faces people have. So he caught like a taxi, and the guy driving the taxi had his face. So it probably wasn't too hard.
No, I've heard that there are only 5,000 like unique faces, and we all have a variation of one of them.
look at that bald guy dancing. He was just
What
like,
do you think it would have been like to be an extra at this particular scene?
I think it would have been okay
Just
because
pretend
you get to hear Mike Myers think that
piss.
he's sexy.
Look at
Don't
those people
you know?
making out in the tree over there.
They're getting married.
Yeah, they're lurking in the tree.
Mm.
It's very sexual.
Very much in the dark. Yeah, maybe one of them's the axe murderer.
It's Mike Myers, as in the one from the Halloween movies. Michael Myers.
Michael Myers.
Yeah, every time I hear
Well,
Michael
his
Myers,
friends
I'm like,
comes in and call him Mike. That's the
Every
rule.
time I hear someone say Michael Myers, I'm like, what's so scary about him? You know, he can't.
He can't. He's Austin
He
Powers.
can't kill people.
It's
the
because
mask
he
he wears
played-
is a William Shatner mask, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sprayed white and turned inside out. I'm pretty sure.
Did
something.
anyone see the latest?
I've never really cared for the Halloween movies, if I'm honest with you. They just don't do it for me.
I think Reese said he liked it.
Fine. I mean, they should have just got John Carpenter to do it again. He did the music, and apparently that was the best part.
Honestly, I've only seen the original.
It's good. The original was good. The second one is less good. The third one's odd. People don't like the third one, but it's like the
Third one's
purpose.
the cult
Yeah,
classic.
The
yeah.
third one's
Yeah.
the one that has nothing to do with Michael Myers, and like, great.
What's John Carpenter doing these days?
He's doing music. Him
Yeah.
and his family, like his son and their kids or whatever, have a band that are very
Really?
popular.
The John Carpenter van.
Yeah, I don't know if they call that, but he did the
They-
soundtrack to the
That
new
would-
Halloween movie, and apparently that was the best part. Because the
there
soundtrack
you
is
go.
what's one of the most iconic parts of Halloween, like the theme
Yeah.
is very great. Now, did you remember the tip-off about this sequence, about how, this song had significance to the case of Mrs. X?
Oh, well, I wasn't paying attention to the lyrics.
Well, it's the song itself is a tip-off because one of the murdered victims was known for singing this in multiple languages.
Oh, that's right.
So that's why it's kind of igniting that fuel again, because then she proceeds to sing it in other languages as well.
Mm.
So that's why then when also they're at the hotel and they're like, we're going to play this song, he's like, no!
Okay, I missed that.
The
Hey,
Golden
look,
Gate.
hey, it's The Room again. It's like the shot from The Room where it's just the cars going over. When I saw The Room in the cinema where people were throwing spoons at the screen and yelling things, I did not realize when those sequences where the bridge is there and it's a still shot and just see cars going, people just shout, go, 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 and point at a specific car and watch it go across the bridge. So that's fun. Hey, this looks like a very similar sequence, like visually, of where the location is to that scene in Austin Powers 1, or is it Austin Powers 2, in which Will Ferrell's character
that's what I thought you were
falls
saying.
over. And also it looks similar, but probably not, to Johnny English at the end of Johnny English when they're riding out from the thing. I think that's in Europe, but very similar, like the big windy roads that go down mountains. Very similar kind of aesthetic. But do you think that he was shooting this and he was like, I need to kill Will Ferrell here?
Maybe. Could very well be.
Will Ferrell when he was good.
He
Yeah,
was-
this is where
the
Move
film-
Faster
The
goes. I
film's
swear.
ended
yeah.
here, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, you're right.
yeah.
I think maybe it had a bit more colour to it.
So
but,
here's the
you know,
C.
6 years.
Here's the C plot we didn't
Yeah.
know we needed.
It is a C plot.
Now, here's the funny thing. Alan Arkin does play characters that are genuinely like this in
Yeah, he
movies.
does.
So the fact that he here is playing like a guy who's trying to emulate the characters that he has played himself is so hilarious to me. I love Alan Arkin. Like,
He's great.
He's an actor that's kind of crept up on me over the years because I've never really paid attention to him. Like, he's always been in things that I like. Like, I really like the film Grosse Point Blank, and he's fucking great in that movie.
Who was
But
he in Grosse Point?
He's a
Blank?
psychiatrist.
That's right.
He's John Cusack's psychiatrist who knows that he's an
he's a
assassin,
murderer,
and he's
yeah.
just like, oh, I can't. Like, but he's crept up on me over the years as just someone to really appreciate and love.
That
Like,
vein in his forehead.
oh, he's flexing it. Like,
Jesus.
and he knows comedy. Like I remember a movie that I didn't think was too good, and one that I've even talked about with Bartek of, should we do this on the show? And we both agreed it wasn't that great, or I specifically said no, which was the Get Smart remake that they did with Steve Carell. And he was the chief.
The chief.
Oh, was that his
Yeah.
name? Yeah, his boss.
I haven't seen it in
Chief.
so long. Yeah.
But and I remembered him being great in that. But like, cause that's his kind of role. But I did like this how he came back and they're like crediting him and like he's like an actor like
Yeah,
did I go too
good,
far
but
on
yeah,
that?
no improvement.
I like how it's like months have gone by and they've been working on it, but this is the first time we've seen it come to fruition, and it's like I love those a pre-planned thing.
I'd also like to praise Alan Arkin for he was director on one of my favorite TV shows, Justified. And
Oh,
So good on him.
with Walton Goggins.
yeah, Walton was a great actor also.
He's
Walton
great
Goggins.
too. He's crept up on me over the
Yeah.
years too, because I remember
He's done a lot
seeing
more
him
movie
in
roles,
can't remember. I saw him in something early on, and I was like, that guy's weird.
He's got a weird face. He does.
The
The
Lone Ranger. He was in the Lone Ranger remake.
The one with Armie Hammer.
Yeah, and he was like the best villain in that movie. Had like 15 villains, and he was like the best one. And they kill him off, and you're like, oh, all the actual intensity is gone.
Holy shit! Look at this place.
Yeah, I know, right?
This is the place Ryan wants
That's gotta be
60% of
green
the film to be
screen.
set.
I
up
don't
down
you
the
agree?
mountains.
And you know who should be the hotel manager?
Who?
Dan Aykroyd. And it should be JP from Nothing But Trouble.
Yes.
And Chevy Chase was originally supposed to be the
Yeah,
choice
yeah.
for the lead.
You know,
Yes.
So
one day, Ryan.
I would love that.
One day, I hope to see a movie with great casting, and in the credits it'll say casting by.
Ryan Sliwinski.
Ryan Sliwinski.
Yeah, I know.
And we'll
Fantasy
know.
casting, like the bellboy here should have been Rob Schneider. Like not the bellboy, yeah, the desk reception guy, Rob Schneider.
Who's the guy that plays Reed Richards in the original Fantastic Four? he
What
was-
the Roger Corman Fantastic
Yeah,
Four?
and he was in Titanic at the end.
Oh, I don't remember.
Guy, you know?
He's Australian though. That guy,
Really?
pretty sure.
It's like Ian something.
Yeah. Well, I remember in Big Fat Liar, I made a case that Frankie Muniz's dad in that movie looked exactly like Reed Richards, and he should have played Reed Richards in
Look at that
Fantastic
haircut.
Four. It's a very strong haircut.
I like it.
Mike Myers' haircut looks like
I do.
ventriloquist dolls, but like it's very strong.
The Robbie Burns.
No, I don't know. Did you guys not feel the same about this hotel? Like, I don't know. I felt like it gave so much verve and life to the movie. Like, it was a character in itself. Like, all the things there and the people within it. I don't know.
It's kind of making me think of the original Pink Panther film.
Yes.
Which was also set entirely in a hotel, pretty much.
Yeah, and oh my god, Anthony LaPaglia should be Clouseau. How good would that be?
That would be great.
I would love it.
I mean, Peter Sellers is hard to top, but...
Steve Martin? Definitely hard to top. It's so weird because I've heard people who genuinely like those Steve Martin Pink Panther movies, and I'm like, have you seen the original ones? And there are some who's like, yeah, I have, but like, I really like those ones. And I'm like, did you see the original one after? And they're like, yeah, and like, and that answers it. Then you have like an attachment towards the Steve Martin ones. She's got a band-aid on her finger from the Chop Chop. The Chop Chop.
Mike Myers being too funny.
Yeah, I've often injured myself with Mike Myers being too funny. Like,
rolling around the ground.
I remember really busting. Like, I felt like my rib was gonna break the first time when I watched Wayne's World when he's doing the whole gun rack thing, because that's like my favorite part of that whole movie, because it's so uncharacteristic of Wayne. It's just clearly Mike Myers reliving an experience, because Wayne isn't that aggressive of a character, but it's only with her, which I guess makes sense because it's like an ex-girlfriend, but I love it.
This pilot is
Oh, you mean
great.
Stephen Wright?
Yeah.
You may remember him from Reservoir Dogs. You're listening to K. Billy's Super Sounds of the 70s. Yeah. That's him. And also as M's dad in the Emoji Movie.
Oh, yeah, the Emoji Movie, right. Yeah.
It was a hit, Luke. Now,
If you
Luke,
say so.
Luke, you're the social justice one out of the three of us, so I've got a big question for you.
Right.
This dress style that is popular still and was very popular at this point, is it racist?
I don't know enough about its general wearing, like
Well, a lot of white ladies wear this very Asian aesthetic dress, and I'm just going, is it too cultural appropriate?
I really can't say without more information.
Because I'm going to give you an opinion. I think, yes, every time I've seen white women wear those dresses in real life and in movies, I
don't think it
my
looks
my
good,
instant
but,
reaction is this. Like, it just doesn't, I go, no,
Yeah,
no,
I
no.
don't like to see it, but I'm not sure if it's like considered offensive by people who
I don't know. I wonder.
The culture from which it originates.
What, Japan?
I think it's
It looks Chinese to me.
Chinese.
Yeah, that's just it. I don't want to say because I don't actually know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just kind of like, no.
I think it's Chinese.
No, thank you, honey. Like, put her in a different dress.
Yeah, just a nice.
It's also like, but you know what? I'll give the movie this defense. It makes sense for her character because in her line of work, she wears cultural dresses because she's meats of the world, and we've already seen her in 3 or 4 different attires like that. So I give it a bit of a pass.
And even though they were talking more United States, they did make a point that she has been around different places.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. Anthony LaPaglia is not having it. He's is Stephen Wright asleep right now? Bartek, of course, this is also a reunion show in the fact that in a moment we're going to have Charles Grodin's back. We haven't seen him since The X. Have we?
Was he the dad?
Yeah, he was the dad who got an alcohol problem. You didn't instantly recognize him with his cold demeanor in this movie? It didn't remind you of his warm demeanor?
There were no whales.
Or hot lights?
Fuck!
This guy's interesting.
Yes, look at his
He's got hair, for sure. Like, that's a thick head of hair. It looks like a Lego man's hair, you know, when you plop them on to a man's head.
Is he a concierge?
No, he's probably the concierge.
In here it says the concierge was played by Greg German with 2 N's.
Oh, you know, the best concierge scene, or maitre d', he's a maitre d' more like, I think. Maybe he's a concierge, but he looks more like a maitre d' if he's in the restaurant part. But the best maitre d'... The maitre d' sequence of choice is, of course, Blues Brothers. The little girl, how much? How much for your wife and the little girl? And also the fact that they're throwing the little shrimps into each other's mouths and they're like chinking the wrong glasses and like, oh, you're using the wrong glass there. That's the best. Like, you're gonna cost me my job. That's the best restaurant scene in any film ever, and I will fight you to the death. To the death. Now, Luke, Remember the era in which a phone line could go out and you could not be able to contact
Yeah.
anyone in the world ever again? Like, you were fucked.
It's a good thing I didn't have to call many people back then. I imagine being like an adult back then.
It's
that'd be
the
fucked.
age-old thing. I've said this before. Thank God mobile phones weren't as prevalent, or else storytelling in this movie
Yeah.
would be down the fucking toilet. Like,
We
like
can't
they would have to show the tree hitting like the place where you get mobile
The cell
phones.
tower.
The cell
Are
towers.
you saying that you don't want this film to be resolved by a big Instagram following, like Annie?
Annie from 2014?
Yep, Black
or
Annie.
the 1930s Annie. I would
Well, both, but I was talking about the 2014.
Here he is, Charles Grodin. He was great. Obviously, this is a little bit of a homage to one of his more popular movies, Beethoven. No, Midnight Run, which is the movie in which he's like a mild-mannered, kind of normal guy who kind of gets mistaken, identity thingy, blah, blah, and gets handcuffed to Robert De Niro, and they run across the country and whatnot, and he's like uptight and like, you know, that kind of movie has the May I Commandeer Your Vehicle, so it's kind of nice little homaging to that. That's
think-
why it's kind of funny.
If you look in the background just now, we're not going to pan back, but there's a man who looks like Colonel Sanders.
Oh, I
And
actually
they
did have that in
mentioned-
my
yeah.
notes, actually.
They mentioned him earlier on the film, so.
I wonder if it's foreshadowing.
Oh.
Uh-oh, Mike Myers is alone in the dark, and he's like, I've married a,
Wonderful
a
woman.
tall lady. She is taller than him. But God, is anyone taller than this guy's hair? I mean,
Oh,
it's,
Jesus.
Hey.
There are more important things to do, huh?
I love this. This is like so nightmarish.
It is.
Yeah.
You know what would work better
Even-
if they lifted them up and started like a Jewish wedding, like lifted them up and but instead of that, they're singing the song that he's afraid of,
Yeah,
but in a
yeah.
very scary
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Like yeah. I love it. Look at him. This is terrifying. If this happened to me at a like at a fancy hotel on my honeymoon, I'll be fucking
Your honeymoon's in a
terrified.
few months, Ryan.
I'll
Could
be
happen.
fucking terrified. I would be yet again. I wouldn't want the bellboy with me. I would take the axe.
Isn't that everyone in the hotel is just like, oh, you're gonna fuck, have fun.
Well, yeah, it's a fuck hotel, Luke.
They know their honeymoons.
Everyone's a honeymoon couple there, except for the ones who are celebrating their original
The
honeymoons.
anniversaries and honeymoons. Yeah.
Anniversary moons. I love that he runs away, but you know
He
what I love
runs off.
even better? The sound design of that, where it's someone else's voice clearly going "Ah!" as he runs away, and I love it.
Yeah, I remember that.
I love it. I also love the painting in the background here. It really adds to the kind of biblical awakening of terror that's going to befall him in a second here, and I really liked it. I
Oh,
like that they have
shit.
an axe in their room, as one tends to.
Well, they know the title of the film.
Yeah, were you
Like-
bummed out that there weren't more axe murders in this movie?
Well, like I was saying, it's a bit of a misleading title.
A misnomer.
I guess the Polish title
Is
I
more
married
accurate.
a murderess. Or what was the French one that trivia said?
Yeah, it was something
basically the
similar.
same?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually going to be like, oh, the French and Polish one will probably be similar. Oh man, Charles Grodin. I wish he was in the movie more. I love seeing Charles Grodin in everything he's in.
It's a film with a lot of one-scene wonders. Well, I guess he's two
He
technically.
could play the
but-
axe murderer. Fucking look at him.
No, I think he would be better suited as just this guy who has nothing to do with anything, but he is just like mild-manneredly giving a lift, but also very furious about it. Like I would be very
It's like,
furious.
no, it's one of my favorite
And
things.
then he goes home and he finds out that his son-in-law is Zach Braff, and he's like, oh. And then he starts drinking while mowing the lawn.
But then he gets some bad
Oh,
news
it's
and
the
he's very
twist.
happy about it.
Oh shit! Carrot Top
Heads
came
up.
back.
You think my bullshit?
If the twist was that it was the redhead guy from the beginning of the movie, that would actually be great. That would
The
actually
aliens
be
are
great.
actually his ex-wives.
I would love that.
Husbands, I
I
mean.
wrote this note. You're not supposed to be in the room. Yeah, she has a really unique way of speaking. Like, and she's in like a good ton of things. Like, I think now I may be wrong, but she's in. Have you guys heard or seen any of Phineas and Ferb?
No. But
She does a
I've heard
voice of like the female Bizarro version of the character of Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
it. I do
who-
know Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Dr. Doofenshmirtz, who's the greatest character in anything ever. Have you seen these, Bartek?
No, in fact, if you listen to our episode on the A-Team, I call the show Phineas and Herb, and you have like a 2-minute spiel about how funny that is.
Wow, the axe is actually making contact with
It's actually really funny now. But yeah, she does the voice of a female version, I'm pretty sure, a bizarre female version, and it's perfect. It's just perfect, because Dr. Doofenshmirtz is one of the greatest. Like, his whole thing is like, he's an evil scientist who wants to take over the whole tri-state area. Like, that's his big, great ambitions. And when he's not trying to do that, the other story of him is, back in my childhood, I wasn't allowed to have this thing. And it's like and you see his old childhood, and it's like in whatever fake version of fairy tale Germany it's supposed to be, and it's just like miserable. But one of the best is with him just randomly, while Mike Myers is getting axed to the face, is Dr. Doofenshmirtz is an enemy with Perry the Platypus, and he's always like, whenever Perry comes in, he's just like, Perry, I've trapped you, and he has some like trap that comes out. He's sitting in a restaurant, and Perry comes in, and he's like about to jujitsu him, and he goes, Perry, I've trapped you with social conventions. And Perry like looks around, and everyone's like looking at them like, why, this is totally inappropriate for this restaurant. So Perry has to sit down and have a meal with him, and he's like, ha ha ha. And it's one of the few, if only, traps that Perry can't escape from is social conventions.
That's good.
That, and people have made him Thanos. Doofenshmirtz, where it's like Thanos has the Infinity Gauntlet, and he's just like, I'm going to snap my fingers, and I'm going to give more resources to the world, because when I was a child, I was only allowed to eat half of a meal. And then someone whispers over, no, you're supposed to kill half the universe. But that's stupid. Why would I want to do that?
See, even he gets it.
Well, that's okay. Thanos is
Rose
insane.
wearing like a plasticky thing?
Yeah, she doesn't want to get blood on her.
Fair enough.
It's a smock.
Schmuck. Oh, you could.
I think it makes sense for her because she's a murderess.
She's done a few.
Do you think it's a sexist term to call female murderers murderess and not just murderers?
No.
Like an actress and a murderess? An air stewardess?
Actress is kind of like a defunct term, in my opinion. But
well, it depends on the individual, because some actors still like to be called actresses and some don't care. So it's like, I've seen a lot of interviews where it's like, Margot Robbie, you're one of the best actors and actresses. So it's like, oh, you're both. You've nailed it. Tarantino, why don't you give her more lines of dialogue? I reject your hypothesis.
Well, I know
Tarantino lashes out.
I know that with like
she sucks at this. Just pry his fingers off.
No, even better. Just walk over and aim. She's aiming vertically, not horizontally. Just aim horizontally.
You just need to kneel down and just start sawing on his fingers.
Chop off or hit him in the face.
I know she's angry and shit, but knock him off with your body as he climbs up.
She's a little lady.
Oh, yes.
Did you see her in Pulp Fiction next to Tim Roth? Little.
You are very correct.
I need to pee. Her best line in Pulp Fiction.
She's an axe thrower.
I mean, I've never thrown. Okay, was it me or was there a gag that was removed from this sequence here? Because he was standing, like, he was over the window, and you saw some movement. And,
yeah.
But you didn't see him look in and be like, whoa, and then people below are having sex, and they're like, like, you know what I mean? Like, usually that's a gag.
There could have been, yeah.
I feel like they removed a gag there. I don't know. Like, I was like, is it my copy? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like
it didn't happen in my one.
I feel like there's a gag that's missing there. But maybe it was just too inappropriate for this climax. Because, you know, I think at this point they're focusing more on the thrilling adventures of Mike Myers getting an axe to his face.
What if it was just a polite gentleman with a big moustache that goes, hello, and that's it?
I would love it.
He's just waving, hello.
You know, I would love it even better if it's that caterpillar from Labyrinth. It's like, hello.
I'm just a worm.
Yeah, I'm just a worm. Hello. Oh, she's going full psycho for it.
Look at these faces.
I mean,
I
love the fact that he gets kicked in the balls. He looks at us like, but then I love that he kicks her in the vagina, and it does give her an effect. It's usually in movies and shows, it's like you kick a woman there, and it's like nothing happened. As someone who's kicked a woman in the vagina accidentally, I can tell you it does give a strong reaction.
I mean, you're literally kicking a person, so it should be something.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, you know, in fairness, if I kicked you in the butt, it would hurt far less than if I kicked you in the stomach.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I think the thought process is, well, with a lady, theirs are internal, so if you hit them there, it's not going to hurt as much.
Kicked anywhere still hurts.
Oh, yeah.
No, you hit the knife that I keep in my panties.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love. It always makes me think of King of the Hill,
Same
where
here.
Bobby is.
That's my purse. Give it back, or something like that.
Yeah, and he kicks her, and she's just like. Mhm.
Peggy. Yeah.
We all agree that Peggy's the best character in King of the Hill, right?
I'm not too familiar with this, but maybe.
It's Peggy. It's Peggy. She's a Boggle champion. It's Peggy.
Is yours not Stephen Root?
Oh, he's a secondary character. Like,
your main character.
yeah, out of the main people, because
Well, I mean,
Stephen Root doesn't appear as much. Like, he's there in every episode, but he
He's
doesn't.
in every intro, right?
Yeah, but you know what I mean. He doesn't even always speak at every intro. But I love Peggy.
I guess by that logic, in the Simpsons intro, they do have like the music teacher. Who
Yeah,
everyone
exactly.
remembers.
Yeah, and the what's his name? The TV the TV psychologist guy.
Oh, Marvin Monroe.
Yeah, Marvin Monroe. He's in
Oh,
the
wow.
intro in every one of them too for a while.
Isn't the guy from like the first season, the bowling guy, also in the
Yeah.
I was in like, Homer, did you put your head in the shine old
No,
ball?
the one who Marge nearly has an
French
affair
one.
with.
Oh,
Jacques.
Jacques.
Pick up the pick up Homer.
I think he's in the sequence where Bart's like skateboarding through the town.
I'm also pretty sure the babysitter's in there too, like from the first season as well.
yeah.
So, but the movie is coming to a thrilling climax in which we will see them smile and laugh at each other.
Well, we've passed the climax.
The
Conclusions, I think the word.
Thrilling
I
climax,
did you more.
and now we're at the conclusion.
All right, now
It's a
camera,
reverse
pull
of
out,
the image at the beginning.
And credits.
Now, Bartek, let's hear your review and rating of this fantastic movie.
Yes. So I married the axe murderer.
I like it.
I loved it. It was a great film.
What did do you know what Roger Ebert thought?
He gave it 2.5 out of 4. But I think his words. In fact, I think it's even mentioned on the Wikipedia reception thing. I think he called it like mediocre, and that there's a good film.
Yeah, there's a good film hiding inside it.
Yeah.
To be let out.
Roger Ebert, in his
Mediocre.
review from the Chicago Sun-Times, described the film as a mediocre movie with a good one trapped inside, wildly signaling to be let free. He rated it 2.5 stars out of 4.
But what's your rating?
My rating is a gajillion out of a gajillion beat poets.
Nice.
I was pleasantly surprised by this film because, this has been a long build-up for me, like 10 or 11 years. It could have just been like a realization of, oh, this is why I haven't heard anything about it. This is why no one talks about it when they talk about Mike Myers. But no, I think it's solid. I don't think it was mediocre. I think it had, good comedic moments, excellent cameos. Just overall pleasant, and I really liked the recurring beat poetry there. Like, even though there is a joke to it, it's like, oh, it's the same poem, different words every time, and it's silly. It sounds nice. I like the music. I like the presence of San Francisco in this film.
You mean New York?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, New York, Hudson River,
LA.
New York Prison Island,
Austin. Nashville. Dolly Parton.
Yeah, I think this film is really good. I definitely would have watched this many times growing up if I knew of it.
I know you would have.
Yeah, I like Mike Myers is great. I'm glad I saw this film.
I'm glad too. My turn. I love this movie, of course. I thought it was interesting. I'd seen this before, but I had left it long enough to reintroduce it to myself. It was a wonderful experience. I think that oddly enough, an episode or two ago now, we did The Cable Guy.
Yes.
And I think this movie would go really well as a double feature with The Cable Guy. I think so. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a fun experience, and I would recommend it for all ages. I mean, it has a fun atmosphere. It's interesting to see Mike Myers not playing a caricature. Like Wayne is a caricature of those metalheads from the 80s and 90s, and Austin Powers is obviously a spoof on James Bond and the British kind of 60s mania, and the Love Guru was spoofing what's his name that even appeared in the movie. I can't remember his name. The Indian mystic.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But I recommend this. I loved it. If I had to give this film a rating, it's hard not to just do the poetry thing. It's so hard. My rating was gonna be like but you've stolen it, so it's
No,
okay.
I think
I
all
give
three of
this
us
a
should do
try out of star.
Very
That's
good.
a lot. Luke, let's hear from you.
Okay, I think this film really shone in its supporting characters, like biggest of the bunch being Anthony LaPaglia.
Yeah.
He felt like, I really felt like he had a properly fleshed out character. He had some excellent comedic moments, and he was just generally interesting to watch.
Yeah.
I liked this bit where it's like, being a cop isn't as fun as it is on TV.
Yeah, he name dropped Starsky and Hutch a lot.
I kind of felt for him in that moment, and also, Alan Arkin, Phil Hartman,
Michael Richards.
yeah, Michael Richards, the guy in the car whose name escapes me.
Charles Grodin.
Thank you, Charles Grodin.
Oh, Charlie.
Yeah. I can see why this film didn't do as well as Wayne's World, because he just come off a big high, and maybe he thought that he could kind of coast or just cruise. for this
Yeah, and
movie.
Wayne's World comes from a pre-established fan base already.
Yeah,
People already like
that's right.
those characters.
Yeah.
And also, kind of him and his dad were the two main silly
Yeah,
people in
they
this
were.
sort of... I mean, I guess when they go to the hotel, that's a thing.
That's
but,
crazy, Tom.
but,
The hotel is probably one of my favorite sequences, just because there's lots of like little funny things, like when there's like stay for a nightcap and the bellboy fucking runs.
Yeah, exactly. He
Interestingly
screams.
enough, I noticed in the credits there, assistant to Mike Myers, Frederick Walsh, also played the bellboy. So
There you go.
at
I
any
also
rate-
noticed that someone was called Uncle something something, so they really
So his
need to
name was
include
Uncle.
that.
At any rate, well, certainly not my favorite Mike Myers movie. That's Cat in the Hat.
you dirty hoe.
This was good enough for me to see past its flaws
And to see its roof.
and to see its roof. So I give this film. What do I give this film?
Just a
I
big-
give this film several minutes of overly verbose poetry out of 10.
There you go.
I was hoping you would do the poetry.
Synth.
Oh,
Oh, that's
good
it. In 21 Jump Street, isn't it Cynthia?
I think so, yeah.
Cynthia. Yeah, Jonah, you rip that off. I'm fucking suing you on behalf of Michael Myers.
I'm suing you.
But if
The,
you...
the serial killer, Michael Myers, who gets a lot of landslide cases for Michael Myers.
They cut out all of Michael Myers' beat poetry in those films.
Oh, man.
Michael Myers is known for speaking a lot of words. He also, the man who played Michael Myers, The Shape, otherwise known as, directed Major Payne. Let's not forget.
Well,
Ah, Major Payne.
in the Halloween remakes, you see Michael Myers as a kid, and he like screams a bit. I think.
Yeah, there you go.
He screamed.
Well, oh, you
Rob
talking about the
Zom-
Rob Zombie
Rob
ones?
Zombie ones, yeah.
No, you get a whole fucking first hour of that. But what did the interweb have to say about So I Married an Axe Murderer?
Yep,
Thoughts of these?
there were a couple of uploads of the trailer on YouTube. I looked through all of them, but I found 4 comments from just one of them. Most of the uploads about this film are, the movie clips.
Of
YouTube
course.
Channel.
Classic.
Yep. So this is what I've gathered from YouTube. First comment. One of my top 5 movies. I use this to judge people. If you don't like this movie, then we can't be friends.
Wow.
I use it to judge people in other ways too. Like, now
Mike Myers has declared you are
jury,
guilty.
do you find Luke guilty of the crime of homicide?
Well, we
we
made him
find
watch
the
this
we find the plaintiff innocent. Well, tough shit, because he did not like so I married
find
an
the
axe murderer,
plaintiff
so
innocent. That's
guilty. Dun, dun, dun.
Well, he didn't seem to like the movie, so we're putting him away.
Well, that's just your opinion. The facts say otherwise.
That's just your opinion, man.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
The next comment is, this movie is actually pretty underrated. I found it funny and entertaining. Anybody looking for a great laugh should watch it. I give this movie a 6.8 out of 10 stars.
The rating doesn't really match
No, it doesn't,
the
does it?
words. I
Get
was
used,
expecting an 8.
get used to that.
I like reviews like that though, because they're just so seemingly like innocent and just like, I had a good time.
I had a good time.
Good on you, mate. Good on you.
Here's my email address. Email me about your good
For
time.
Fun laughs, good
The
time.
idiot reviews. The next comment is, I feel like We Have a Piper Down would have been a meme if the internet was popular back when this was released. Anyone else agree?
We have a pipe. What's that referring to?
That's when they're at the wedding and the bagpipe guy falls down.
That's right.
And he says, can we have a piper down?
No one responded to this, but the comment got 6 likes.
I agree.
Do you like?
I will like.
I'll find this.
But I'm not a big meme fan.
What?
Luke's the meme fan.
like memes.
You're lit totes, fam. But
20, blaze it. Smoke weed every day. Yeah.
Snoop Dogg did play Huggy Bear, and Huggy Bear was referenced at the beginning of this film.
He was. So, the same universe. There.
But it's not Julia Louis-Dreyfus, so...
Dreyfus.
The final comment that I've gathered from YouTube is, terrible movie. I only saw it because it had a great title and Nancy Travis was attractive with her large mouth.
does she have a smaller mouth now, and that's why they're not attracted to her
With
anymore?
her large mouth.
I mean,
I thought it'd be like large.
I didn't even
breasts or
think it
something.
was. She doesn't even have large
No,
breasts,
she
but
didn't. She
I
was
didn't
a
even
waif.
notice that she had a large mouth. I
Yeah,
just
large
noticed
mouth.
that she had really nice curly hair. I was
And you
like,
did
yeah,
mention
her
she
hair
was
was nice.
tall.
oh, she was
Pretty
tall next to
great.
Mike Myers,
Yeah.
who I imagine everyone is tall next to, including Danny DeVito.
So
Her
now we've
large
come
mouth.
to the...
me, Detective Pikachu here.
We've now come to the IMDB review I gathered, which...
It's the Vidiot Reviews.
It's not the Vidiot.
You should have checked if you reviewed it, though.
The Vidiot has reviewed over 1,000 films on IMDb. It's very
I
hard.
think we've read a few of his reviews on before, I swear.
At least 2, I think, yeah. So this is a very enthusiastic IMDb review. Yes. The title is Rose Jailbird... ...
Alright then.
It is...
I can't wait for the review of Titanic to be this.
It's from the 22nd of May 2000, so we just passed its 19-year anniversary.
How
Aw.
about that?
And it is a 10 out of 10 review.
R.I.P. review.
The beginning of this review pretty much quotes the poem from earlier, so I'll have to do that.
Okay.
Betty, Judy, Josie, and those hot pussy cats, they make me horny Saturday morning. Jane, get me off this crazy thing called love. My God, may all 7 rings of Dante's Inferno fall upon those heads which have clicked 6 as a rating.
Wow.
To hell I cast thee! What an amazing catharsis.
Oh, this is a Knight Templar writing this.
We're like a fifth of the way through, and you can tell what I mean by energetic.
Oh, God.
To hell I cast thee! What an amazing catharsis for Mike Mayer's true talent.
To hell I cast you!
Wayne's World? Sure, it was good. Part 2 proved to be just as good, if not better. And in brackets, and if you didn't laugh your ass off to the mere sound of weird naked Indian guy, you have problems.
Hello!
But damn, what a great movie Axe Murderer is. The opening sequence just sets the tone. We follow what seems to be a tub, or TUB, it's on all caps, of cafe whatever. Lo and behold, it lands right into the hands of one Charles Mackenzie, a second-generation Irishman.
No!
He's Scottish, you idiot.
I cast you to hell!
To hell I cast thee.
To hell I cast thee! Oh, thee, that famous Portuguese phrase? Like
The second-generation Irishman turned wise-ass. He delicately holds...
That's even more confusing.
Like, he wasn't Irishman, he tried to be a full-on wise ass.
Yeah, you know that thing that you decide to be one day?
Yeah.
You just wake up
I
and go, I'm tired of accounting.
be
Wise-assery
a
is what I'm
wise-ass."
gonna be. Go on.
He delicately holds the robust, he put an E at the end of robust, cup,
Robust.
and says to us, the waitress, excuse me, I think I order the large cappuccino. Hello! Geez, look at this thing. It looks like Campbell's cappuccino. And the facial expressions, body gestures. Oh my. Comedic genius, flat out.
Yeah.
Mike Mayers, if you are reading this...
Who the fuck is Mike Myers?
To be fair, he spells it M-E-Y-E-R-S. So it's probably pronounced the same, but I have to differentiate it from the actual
Oi,
spelling.
Mike Myers, if you are reading this, you're gonna be like, I wasn't in this movie, but Mike
I'm gonna look
Myers.
Mike Myers up
so,
on Facebook.
Mike Mayers, if you are reading this, you are a great, great comedian / actor. you've done a hell of a job with So I Married, and your powerhouse movies, both Austin Powers, good stuff, my friend.
That's right, there's only 2 at this point, yeah.
Yep. This is from 2000s, 2 years before.
I wonder what their thoughts were on the third one.
Keep it up and tell Dana, in brackets Carvey, I said to get well. Hey, it's never too late to do it.
Was Dana not okay?
Are you okay?
Is that something
You
that I
okay?
didn't know?
You okay, Dana?
Is the thing...
In 2000, I don't know.
Was the thing of not being okay was not predicting that the Master of Disguise will be filmed on the day that 9/11 happened, and then
Hey,
they
this
had to
is
take a
before
vigil of
9/11.
silence?
Yeah, this is over a year before.
Get well, Dana.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah.
Dana.
Don't worry, I'll tweet Dana to say that. Don't worry.
Hey, it's never too late to do a part 3 of Wayne's World. Wayne's World, it's party time. Excellent. Wayne's World. Mike, you're a 10. Behave. Oh, I shan't.
Wow.
And that's the review.
I think Mike Myers wrote this
I
review.
cast thee to hell.
To hell I cast
To hell I cast thee.
Okay.
The 7th ring
Can
of it
that-
you shall sit as.
And that's a 10 out of 10 review.
That's a
Thank
funny
you very
thing I've heard
much.
today.
Luke, a pleasure as always to have your Italian viewpoint on this
Thank
Irish
you.
film.
We've had
And
are you
Chinese
sure?
dress.
Yeah, there's we've had meats of the world, man. You know, we've
Meats
had,
of the world. We
that's all I
didn't
can say
see
about
them.
this film.
We didn't see them throw like a spaghetti meatball at them or something. They're
We had
like,
some like baklava and some sausage.
ah yes, my favorite Italian food, baklava. I was thinking The Simpsons. No, that's crab. What was it? The Simpsons, the 9/11 episode where he's waiting at the stand and he's like, "Do you want some crab juice or some Mountain Dew?" And then he's like, "You
crab
can
clash.
crab clash," and then he just throws like it's just this weird meat on a stick.
There was a 9/11 episode?
Well, it's before
they-
9/11. It's
they
when
go to New
Homer's car is parked between the Twin
Oh,
Towers.
the Twin Towers episode,
Yeah,
right.
that's
When I say 9/11, I
Yeah.
mean now we look at it and go, whoopsie.
I get it.
The
yeah.
When
city
they-
of 9/11.
The New York episode where Homer hates New York
Yeah.
beforehand, and then it solidifies his hatred of it even more.
We didn't see the Twin Towers in this film.
No, because it was set actually in Nashville. We went over this.
Yeah,
So,
Jacksonville. no, you mean.
guys, you guys have been fantastic, amazing, wonderful listening
Thank
people,
you.
as always. Bartek, a pleasure. I just remembered something. A few episodes back, we made a prediction at the end of the episode that we would be saying certain words in the next episode.
Yeah, we
and we
didn't do
just
it.
never did that.
I know, I
What
thought
I-
about that the other week.
I thought about it literally last night, and I woke up in a hot sweat. I'm like, oh god, the listening people will be like, you didn't do it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, time's not linear, man. It's fluid like a bowl. So, thank you very much. You can find us on you can find us on the Facebook and the Twitter, Spit and Polish Presents, on any podcast platforming site. We're there. Give us a rating and review for ones that allow it, like the Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and, whatever else. Spread us around like the disease we are, or else we shall murder you with kindness. We don't have an axe here. I have a saw. I could saw you in half, but I don't have an axe, I'm afraid. I guess until next time, listening people.
Be to each other.
That was I wasn't planning on doing any more. I was just gonna be like, just remember,
Unless you want to do another preview.
No, but we could remember people. I can't do it like.
Remember, people, to be kind
Kind
to each
other.
other.